Let your mind wander back 75,000 years to a moment standing upon the equator. Ordinarily, the heavens above would stretch in a brilliant tropical azure, yet, on this day, a somber gray pervades, a hue born of ash. So deep a shade, it transforms the midday sun into the twilight's gentle fade. Unbeknownst to you, 3,000 miles toward the rising sun, a colossal mountain has just unleashed its fury, rending itself asunder. Mount Toba, nestled in lands that would one day bear the name Sumatra, has erupted with a power so vast it stretches beyond the grasp of understanding. A staggering 2,800 cubic kilometers of rock, ash, and superheated vapor have been violently cast into the heavens. Such a volume of matter, it could blanket the entirety of the United States beneath a half-inch layer of volcanic remnants. Yet, your presence is not in Sumatra. You stand instead upon the ancient soil of Africa, and even here, the fine ash descends, much like a silent, unnatural snowfall. As weeks gently unfold, the sun's once vibrant glow recedes, becoming a faint specter behind the ever-deepening atmospheric shroud. The warmth of the air begins its swift descent. Greenery, once vibrant, slowly yields to the chill, fading away. Creatures of the wild find their sustenance vanishing, succumbing to hunger's grip. A relentless wave of decline then sweeps through the intricate web of life, unraveling its threads with an unyielding, somber rhythm. This chilling volcanic winter will not merely linger for weeks or months, but stretch across years, perhaps even a full decade. And you, alongside every soul drawing breath in this epoch, are confronted with a stark, undeniable truth. To find a way to endure, or to fade into the annals of time, in a manner almost beyond comprehension, against a tapestry of challenges seemingly insurmountable, humanity found a way to endure. More than merely surviving, they persisted through trials, endured countless hardships, and in time began to flourish. Yet, it is the deeper truth that truly elevates this narrative to something extraordinary. The cataclysm of Toba, however, was not an isolated event in their long saga. Indeed, it was not even the most formidable trial they would face. The profound question we ponder this evening extends beyond how our ancient ancestors weathered a single, devastating climatic upheaval. Rather, it delves into the mystery of their endurance through countless such trials, how they persevered through glacial epochs, their icy grip enduring for 100 millennia, how they ingeniously adapted as relentless droughts transformed verdant grasslands into parched, desolate wastes, and how they faced down volcanic winters, sudden warming spells, dramatic shifts in sea levels, and the unraveling of entire ecosystems, events that would have surely extinguished most other forms of life. The grand odyssey of humanity, across the vast expanse of deep time, is, at its heart, a testament to resilience, forged under immense duress, to ingenuity blossoming from the seeds of despair, and to the peculiar, undeniable truth that the very climatic turmoil destined to erase us instead sculpted us into the most remarkably adaptable beings this world has ever witnessed. Let us now gently place these events within their proper scale, for the sheer magnitude of the numbers holds profound significance. They offer us a deeper perspective, inspire a sense of awe, and illuminate the astonishing improbability of our very presence here. Our own ancestral line, the genus Homo, has graced the surface of this earth for approximately 2 million years. 2 million years, a span perpetually marked by the restless currents of climatic upheaval. The Pliocene epoch, which cradles the greater part of this ancient voyage, was far from an era of serene, incremental shifts. Instead, it was defined by dramatic oscillations, a relentless dance between frigid glacial ages and warmer, interglacial intervals. Epochs of ice, so vast they imprisoned immense volumes of water within towering polar caps, causing the very oceans to recede by 400 feet. And then, warming periods of such breathtaking swiftness that shorelines migrated for miles within the span of a single human life. Our world has witnessed 20 grand glacial cycles, 20 distinct epochs when the ice sheets expanded and then receded. Each of these profound cycles unfolded over approximately 100,000 years, gently guided by the subtle, rhythmic dance of our Earth's orbit and its axial inclination. These were the Milankovitch cycles, cosmic orchestrators that transformed our very planet into a vast, ever-changing laboratory of climatic extremes. Yet, amidst this ceaseless ebb and flow, through each grand oscillation, every dramatic shift in temperature, and every profound transformation of ecosystems, our ancient ancestors not merely endured, but steadily advanced. From Homo erectus, a new lineage emerged, giving rise to Homo heidelbergensis. Then the Neanderthals came into being, uniquely adapted to the chill of their world. And approximately 300,000 years ago, in the heart of Africa, Homo sapiens made their appearance, bearing within them the rich tapestry of adaptations honed over 2 million years of relentless climatic pressures. But now, let us ponder a curious paradox. It is a paradox both wondrous and formidable, residing at the very core of our human journey through time. The shifting climate did not merely imperil our ancestors, it sculpted them. Each successive ice age acted as a profound crucible, refining traits such as keen intelligence, deep cooperation, and remarkable behavioral adaptability. Each period of parched earth compelled ingenious new methods for securing sustenance, and every swift environmental transformation bestowed its favor upon those who possessed the capacity for abstract thought, foresightful planning, and the wisdom to impart novel survival strategies to their young. We are, in the truest and most profound sense, the direct inheritors of those who endured, not merely survivors, but the most remarkably adaptable among them. They were the ones who gazed upon a world gripped by ice and conceived the ingenious notion of tailored garments. They were the ones who confronted the specter of dwindling food and, in response, wove intricate networks of long-distance trade. They were the ones who, after the cataclysm of Toba, peered into a sky, choked with ash, and against all odds, discovered a path to persevere. Tonight, let us embark upon a tranquil journey through the vast expanse of deep time, a chronological odyssey exploring the 4 monumental climatic trials that profoundly shaped the very course of human evolution. This narrative has been thoughtfully crafted as a gentle, sleep-friendly experience, unfolding with a steady, soothing pace, a rhythm designed to carry you through our tale without any sudden, disruptive moments. Imagine this as a timeless campfire story, whispered across countless millennia as you settle in comfortably for a long and peaceful listen. Our journey commences within the crucible of the Ice Age, spanning from 2 million to 200,000 years ago, a time when Homo erectus first harnessed the power of fire and embarked upon their remarkable migration beyond the African continent. We shall observe how the relentless glacial cycles favored the development of larger, more complex brains, how the intense pressures of cold weather fostered profound social cooperation, and how the seemingly simple mastery of flame utterly reshaped the very fabric of human cognition. Following this, we shall turn our attention to the profound Toba catastrophe, an event 75,000 years ago, when the human population may have plummeted to a mere handful of thousands. We will delve into the genetic bottleneck that ensued, explore the enduring archaeological enigmas, and discover the coastal refugia where our ancestors, under pressures almost beyond comprehension, tenaciously clung to life by skillfully utilizing marine resources and, in doing so, began to forge the very foundations of symbolic thought. Our journey then leads us to the final great glacial maximum, a span from 26 to 19,000 years past. During this era, our world knew a chill unlike any it had experienced in 100 millennia. It is profound to consider how each new adaptation gracefully built upon the last, and how every crisis etched its indelible mark, not only within our very DNA, but also upon our psychology, our societal frameworks, and the intricate dance of our relationship with both technology and one another. We shall delve into how humanity, rather than yielding to the harshness, instead blossomed with a vibrant cultural fluorescence. There is a profound sense of grounding to be found within this ancient narrative, a comfort that resonates deeply, especially in our present age. For we, too, dwell in an era marked by swift climatic shifts, by the gentle whisper of uncertainty regarding tomorrow, and by quiet ponderings about the enduring resilience of the human spirit. Imagine the wonders: intricate cave art, tools crafted with remarkable skill, and dwellings fashioned from mammoth bones, standing resilient upon the frozen steppes. To gaze back across 2 million years of time offers us a vast perspective, not a collection of simple answers, but a deeper understanding. For history, in its wisdom, rarely bestows upon us easy solutions, but rather offers profound context, illuminating precedents, and undeniable evidence of the extraordinary capabilities that awaken within humanity when the very essence of survival demands our utmost. Our ancient forebears confronted dramatic shifts in temperature, changes they could neither foresee nor comprehend with the scientific understanding they did not yet possess. They possessed no meteorology to foretell the skies, no agriculture to secure their sustenance, nor any written lore to gently pass down through the unfolding generations. Yet, what they did possess was a keen eye for observation, a deep spirit of cooperation, the innate capacity to both teach and absorb wisdom, and the profound flexibility to adapt their ways whenever the shifting currents of circumstance called for it. And in some wondrous, almost impossible way, these very qualities prove to be profoundly enough. Within every cell of our being, we carry their enduring legacy, the subtle genetic mutations that aided their tolerance of the cold, the intricate brain structures that allowed for complex foresight, the gentle, social instincts that wove cooperation into their very fabric, and the cognitive flexibility that sparked behavioral innovation. But beyond the tangible, we also bear a more ethereal inheritance, the very spirit of survival itself, a profound knowledge encoded within our culture and consciousness, whispering that humanity can indeed endure, that we have faced the most formidable trials this planet could ever present, and always, always found our way through. This sudden, dramatic shift in climate may well have been the catalyst for the most profound transformation ever witnessed in the annals of human history. From the crucible of this very climate crisis, we find the genesis of agriculture, and with it, the very dawn of civilization itself. Thus, we observe 4 distinct challenges, each met with a unique human response, leading to 4 remarkable advancements in our collective capability. Within each segment of our tale, we uncover not merely the events that transpired, but also the deeper currents that guided their unfolding. Now, find your ease, and let comfort embrace you. We shall soon journey through the vast expanse of deep time, to tread the very paths our ancestors once walked, amidst the chill of ice and the dust of ash, through times of want and profound change. Our exploration will delve not merely into the ways they endured, but also the heavy price their survival demanded, the wisdom it imparted, and its enduring significance for us, their far-off progeny, who continue to adapt, to persist, forever molded by the very climatic forces that forged our humanity. Our tale commences 2 million years hence, upon the African continent, when the earliest kin of our lineage cast their gaze northward, toward realms held fast by ice, and there made a choice that would forever alter the course of existence. Yet, before we proceed, it is essential we first comprehend the world into which they ventured. Our first chapter, The Ice Age's Forging Fire. 2,200,000 years ago, we find ourselves in the epoch known as the Pleistocene. Let that word roll gently from your tongue, Pleistocene. Its very sound whispers of antiquity, for ancient indeed it is, spanning from 2.6 million years past until approximately 11,700 years ago. A mere geological flicker, truly, within the vast unfolding tapestry of Earth's long history. Yet, for the narrative we now weave, it holds all significance. For the Pleistocene was not defined by a singular climate. Rather, it encompassed a multitude of climates, perhaps even hundreds, depending on the method of reckoning. Picture our Earth, a grand pendulum, swaying between 2 profound extremes, the grip of ice and the embrace of warmth, the advance of glaciers and their slow, inevitable retreat. With each passing 100,000 years, give or take a measure of time, our world would gently descend into a profound, icy slumber. Vast sheets of ice would then begin their slow, deliberate crawl from the polar regions, akin to silent, colossal avalanches, ceaselessly grinding the very continents beneath their immense weight, thus sequestering such vast quantities of water that the ocean's surface would recede by a staggering 120 meters. Then, as if drawing a deep, restorative breath, our Earth would begin to warm once more. The ice would yield its hold and recede. Forests would gently reclaim the barren tundra, and the grand cycle would commence anew. This was no mere dance of random chaos. Rather, it was a grand ballet, meticulously choreographed by the intricate celestial mechanics of the cosmos. Imagine, if you will, the subtle dance of Earth's orbit, a cosmic rhythm so faint that our ancient forebears could never have known its presence. Yet so profound was its influence that it alone decided if their ancestral lands would lie beneath a blanket of ice or flourish as verdant grasslands. These grand cycles, bearing the name of the Serbian scientist who unveiled their secrets, speak of our planet's orbital eccentricity, the gentle tilt of its axis and the delicate wobble of its spin. A silent, mathematical poetry etched into the very heart of ancient ice and the deep layers of sediment. They whisper a timeless truth, that our world has never known a moment of true stillness, never truly settled. And it was into this ever-shifting, ever-evolving world that the early human, Homo erectus, first set foot. Close your eyes for a moment and envision them. Nearly 2 million years ago, in the sun-drenched cradle of East Africa, a remarkable new lineage of humanity began its journey. They stood taller than their Australopithecine forebears, graced with longer limbs and arms less suited for climbing, their very form sculpted by evolution not for the canopy, but for the open plains and the endless journey of walking. A true walking, a tireless stride that allowed them to traverse distances that would leave even the most seasoned ultramarathoner of our time utterly spent. Their minds, too, were expanding. Though not yet reaching the capacity of our own, they were on a path of remarkable growth, beginning at around 900 cubic centimeters and steadily increasing to 1,100 over the span of 1,000,000 years. Then, Homo erectus embarked upon an act truly without precedent. They departed, not merely shifting their local hunting grounds, as a troop of baboons might, but venturing forth from the very continent of Africa itself. Their footsteps carried them across vast landscapes into the heart of Asia. By 1.8 million years ago, they had arrived in the lands we now call Georgia, and by 1.6 million years ago, their journey had taken them as far as the islands of Indonesia. Thus, they became the very first truly global hominins, their presence gracing 2 vast continents, where they encountered a tapestry of climates and ecosystems utterly unknown to any of their predecessors or even conceived. And here, my friends, lies the profound truth. They endured for more than 1.5 million years. This remarkable Homo erectus lineage persevered through monumental shifts in climate, changes so drastic they would have utterly extinguished a species less capable of adaptation. They bore witness to the slow, majestic march of the ice sheets as they advanced, and then their equally grand retreat. They also lived through epochs of devastating aridity across the African continent. Yet, they persevered, they adapted, and in time, they ultimately bestowed. Eventually, this gave rise to the hominins who followed, ourselves among them. But how did this come to pass? Our tale commences with fire, yet not the mere discovery of its flame. Such a notion is far too simplistic, too abrupt. In all likelihood, fire was met with time and again, the sudden strike of lightning, the fiery breath of volcanic eruptions, and the sweeping devastation of wildfires as they swept across the vast savannas. Our early ancestors would surely have witnessed its dance, felt its comforting warmth, and perhaps, when the moment arose, even put its power to opportunistic use. Yet, a profound distinction lies between merely utilizing a flame when it is chanced upon and truly mastering its control, to conjure it into being, to nurture its life, and to grasp its very essence. This pivotal transition from one who merely uses fire to one who truly keeps its flame is among the most momentous turning points in the long saga of humanity. Regrettably, the archaeological evidence remains frustratingly scarce when we look to the earliest epochs. Charred bones, earth bearing the marks of scorching, Such signs might simply be natural occurrences. Yet, by 790,000 years before our time, at a place known as Gisha Benoy, journeying to the ancient lands now known as modern Israel, one uncovers a distinct and unmistakable sign. The ancient hearths, deliberately formed collections of charred wood and stone, indicating a recurring presence at particular sites for fire. This was no mere coincidence. This spoke of deliberate control, 790,000 years in the past. Let that vast number gently settle. Almost 800 millennia of humankind nurturing flames, transmitting the ancient wisdom of firekeeping from each generation to the succeeding one, an unbroken thread of illumination and warmth reaching from that ancient past to the very screen you gaze upon today. But fire offered us more than simple warmth. It gifted us with cooked sustenance, a profound change that reshaped our world. Raw flesh is tough, challenging to digest, and requires considerable energy to process. The application of heat breaks down proteins, tenderizes tough fibers, and eradicates unwelcome parasites. A cooked repast delivers more nutrients with less strain upon our digestive systems. And these precious extra calories, they nurtured our developing brains. A fascinating hypothesis proposes ever more supported, suggests that the preparation of food and the expansion of our minds are deeply connected, that the vast energetic needs of a large brain could only be fulfilled once we discovered how to pre-digest our sustenance with the power of fire. Fire also extended the hours of the day. Suddenly, the encroaching darkness was no longer a time no longer merely huddling in fear. It became a time for gathering, for weaving plans, and for sharing the ancient tales. The gentle glow of firelight wove a spell of closeness, drawing souls into its warm embrace. And within that sacred circle, the very whispers of language began to take form. Wisdom flowed freely, passed from the seasoned elders to the eager young. This dancing flame was a guardian against lurking shadows, a guiding star in the darkness, and a clever instrument for shaping the very land. Our ancient ancestors, with keen insight, surely harnessed fire's power to guide their hunts, to clear away dense thickets, and to nurture the plants they held dear. A humble spark, yet fire ignited a quiet revolution, proving utterly vital for enduring the biting cold. For as Homo erectus ventured ever northward, and the great glacial ages grew in their icy grip, the very climate transformed into a demanding crucible. Any less than perfect ways of living simply faded away. Only the most brilliant and effective solutions were cherished, replicated, and shared far and wide. Let us now turn our thoughts to the whispers of evidence unearthed from the ancient earth, dating back to a time around 300 to 400,000 years past. Among these, we discover stone tools bearing curious marks of wear. A closer look, through the lens of microscopic study, unveils that these implements were employed for scraping animal hides, a task distinct from butchering, which leaves its own unique imprints. This speaks to the careful work of preparing skins, of cleansing them, and of crafting them into garments. Though the garments themselves have long since returned to the earth, as all organic things must, we are left with the very tools that brought them into being. And with these, we also grasp the profound wisdom of their will to survive. Imagine a creature, bare of fur, facing the icy breath of a glacial world. Such a being would surely yearn for warmth and protection. Homo erectus and those who followed them found a brilliant answer, not by waiting for fur to grow, for nature's pace is often slow, but by cleverly borrowing the warmth of other creatures, by enfolding themselves in their skins, thus crafting, in essence, a personal, movable haven. And the very concept of shelter began to blossom into greater ingenuity. Across the vast lands of Europe and Asia, we uncover ancient stone circles, silent remnants of structures that have long since faded from view. Within these sites, we also discern the faint impressions of wooden posts, the very bones of their ancient frameworks. These were not grand edifices, but rather thoughtfully constructed barriers against the wind, simple lean-tos offering respite from the elements. Perhaps they were humble tents, their forms softly draped with the warmth of animal hides. Each new discovery, though modest in itself, seemed quite ordinary when viewed in isolation. Yet, when combined, these advancements reveal a species gradually mastering the art of crafting its own personal microclimate, ensuring warmth and safety no matter where their journeys led. The Acheulean hand axe, a marvel of ancient ingenuity, truly merits a moment of quiet contemplation and admiration. This remarkable implement, a stone shaped with care into a teardrop form, its surfaces meticulously worked, first emerged from the African earth approximately 1.76 million years in the past, and from that distant time, its presence endured for an astonishing 1.5 million years, its fundamental design perfected and replicated across 3 vast continents. Its traces have been unearthed from the lands of Ethiopia to England, from India to Israel. Consider this profound span, 1.5 million years. In contrast, our own species, modern humans, has only graced this planet for a mere 300,000 years, and the civilization we recognize today, with its farming, its bustling cities, and its written word, has existed for a brief 10,000 years. So profoundly effective was the hand axe, so perfectly adapted to its many uses, that it managed to survive and thrive long after entire species had vanished. What, then, were its many functions? It seems it did almost everything, from butchering animals to shaping wood, from digging for roots to serving as a means of defense. It was a true multi-tool, long before such a notion was conceived. Crafting such an implement demanded considerable skill, careful foresight, and a deep intuitive grasp of how stone would fracture. One could not simply stumble upon the creation of an Acheulean hand axe by chance. Its making was a craft that had to be learned. Indeed, someone had to impart that knowledge. And this leads us to the profound importance of cooperation. For extreme cold does not merely test the resilience of individuals, it tests the very fabric of entire groups. A solitary human, adrift in the depths of an ice age, was a human destined to perish. However, a collective of humans, sharing their wisdom, orchestrating their hunts together, and tenderly caring for their wounded and their young, possessed a genuine hope for survival. We find compelling evidence of this communal spirit etched within the fossil record. Individuals of Homo erectus who endured despite grievous injuries, their broken bones having mended, and dental abscesses that, by all accounts, should have proven fatal, yet did not. Clearly, someone had provided them with care. Someone had brought them sustenance. Someone had ensured their warmth by the flickering fire. This was not merely an act of instinct. Behold, the dawn of culture, a force that swiftly gathered momentum. For those communities who learned to work together, survival itself became a gentler, surer path. Imagine the wisdom shared. Whispers of where the great herds roamed, secrets to foretelling the sky's temper, and knowledge of which green things offered sustenance. Such shared insights bestowed a profound advantage upon these early peoples. Thus, the grand tapestry of natural selection began to weave a new pattern, favoring not merely the clever mind of an individual, but the profound wisdom of social understanding, the subtle art of discerning meaning in a fellow's gaze, the gift of conveying intricate thoughts, of imparting knowledge and receiving it in turn. And with these burgeoning capacities, the very vessel of thought, the brain, began its remarkable expansion, growing from a modest 900 cubic centimeters, and then further still, expanding its intricate architecture. As the sands of time drifted to 600,000 years past, certain hominin minds had grown to a scale nearing that of humanity today. Yet, dear listener, mere volume tells but a part of the tale. For it is the intricate design, the very architecture within, that holds profound significance, and the myriad pathways, the connections woven throughout, these too are of paramount importance. Imagine the relentless pressures of surviving the glacial epochs, the urgent call to plan ahead, to conjure new solutions, to hold fast in memory the turning of the seasons, the habits of creatures, and the ancient crafts of tool creation. These very demands, like a patient sculptor, refined the brain's inner workings. Each frigid age of ice presented a profound trial, while every gentle warming brought a welcome, albeit temporary, respite. Yet, the grand examination, the ultimate challenge, would inevitably return. Then, as the great clock of time chimed approximately 400,000 years past, across the lands of Europe and Western Asia, a new lineage of hominin began to grace the stage. They were a sturdier folk, more robust in build, bearing a distinctive ridge above their eyes and possessing a mind organ as vast as our own. Indeed, at times, their cranial capacity surpassed even ours. These were the Neanderthals. Their saga, dear friends, merits a far grander telling than this fleeting introduction allows. Fear not, for their presence shall grace our narrative once more. For this moment, however, let us simply acknowledge them as the undisputed masters, the supreme specialists of the glacial epochs. Their very forms were a testament to the cold's embrace, limbs shorter, to guard against the escape of warmth, chests broad and deep, like barrels, to temper the icy breath before it filled their lungs, and nasal passages, vast and intricate, truly, every fiber of their being whispered tales of adaptation to the frozen world. They were not some divergent branch, a separate experiment of evolution's grand design. No, they were our kin, our ancient cousins, sprung from the very same ancestral hominins, molded by the identical climatic forces, yet in distinct corners of the world. While our own lineage blossomed under the African sun, theirs took root and flourished in the northern reaches. And for countless millennia, they not only endured but prospered amidst conditions that would surely claim the life of an unshielded modern human. Our own journey, yes, but let us now gently widen our gaze once more. Let us seek to discern the grand, overarching pattern. Through all these ages, the majestic Milankovitch cycles, those cosmic rhythms, continued their silent, profound work. Their influence unfolded across vast spans of time, 100,000 years for the gentle sway of eccentricity, 41,000 for the subtle shift of axial tilt, and 26,000 for the slow, deliberate dance of precession. These grand cycles, in their ancient dance, would often intertwine, at times bolstering one another, and at other moments gently diminishing their own effects. From this intricate interplay emerged a most elaborate rhythm, shaping the very climate of our world. Vast epochs of glaciation, stretching for 80 to 90,000 years of profound cold, were gently interrupted by fleeting moments of interglacial warmth. As it happens, we find ourselves dwelling within such an interglacial period even now, a gentle warmth that has embraced the Earth for some 11,700 years, hinting that, in the grand tapestry of nature's cycles, another age of ice may one day return. Yet, the hand of humankind may well have altered this ancient equation entirely, though that tale belongs to another quiet moment. In those times when the glaciers reached their grandest embrace, a thick mantle of ice stretched across the lands we now know as Canada, Scandinavia, and much of Britain and northern Europe. This ice, a colossal presence, measured kilometers in its depth. Picture, if you will, the immense burden, the very earth itself yielding, compressed beneath that frozen expanse, perhaps even sighing and settling into its depths. Beyond the glacial edges, the vast tundra unfolded, and further still, the cold, sweeping grasslands, known as the Mammoth Steppe, stretched its immense breadth from the sun-kissed lands of Spain all the way to distant Alaska. It was the most expansive biome our Earth has ever cradled, a boundless world through which early humans quietly made their way. Their journeys often mirrored those of the magnificent megafauna, the towering mammoths, the shaggy woolly rhinoceros, the majestic giant deer, and the sturdy bison. These creatures represented a vital, moving larder, and the early human inhabitants diligently observed and understood their ancient ways. Thus, the ancient migration paths of the beasts transformed into the very roots of human passage, and the most fruitful hunting grounds became treasured wisdom, passed down through countless generations. Yet, a curious truth about these ice ages is that they were never entirely blanketed in uniform cold. Within their vastness lay refugia, gentle pockets of comparative warmth. The sun-drenched lands of southern Spain, the boot-shaped Italian peninsula, the rugged Balkans, certain regions of the Middle East, and the southern reaches of Africa, these became sacred sanctuaries during the most challenging epochs. Within these havens, populations would gently recede, finding a way to endure, only to then gracefully expand once more as conditions allowed. With each gentle improvement in the world's climate, and with every ebb and flow of population, the very tapestry of genetic diversity was subtly rewoven. Communities would gently drift apart, only to find their paths converging once again. Fresh adaptations, born in quiet isolation, would then gracefully spread throughout the wider world through the gentle touch of contact. These ages of ice, while certainly acting as profound filters, were also, in their own way, grand mixing bowls of life and experience. In such a world, the ability to adapt one's sustenance, to embrace a varied diet, became a matter of utmost importance. In those ancient times, our ancestors could not afford the luxury of specialization, for the great herds moved with the seasons, and the bounty of the plants was fleeting. Along the shores, communities learned to gather the treasures of the sea, while deeper inland, others pursued the hunt and sought sustenance from the wild earth. Indeed, for certain groups, a significant portion of their sustenance was likely found in the remains left by other creatures. There was no dishonor in this practice. Rather, it was a testament to their resourcefulness, a most efficient way to thrive. Imagine, if you will, the bounty of a lion's abandoned feast, still laden with nourishing meat and precious marrow, a true blessing in a world where food was often scarce. Thus, our human lineage evolved into masterful generalists, possessing a remarkable behavioral flexibility, ever ready to shift their ways when the world around them called for change. This, perhaps, stands as our most profound adaptation, not the sharp claws of a predator, nor the swiftness of a gazelle, nor the potent venom of a serpent. It was this very flexibility, this innate capacity to unravel new challenges, to bravely venture into uncharted methods when familiar paths no longer served. And through the long, cold epochs of the ice ages, this very flexibility was richly rewarded, while any stubborn adherence to old ways often met with harsh consequences. Those species unable to bend with the changing winds of time simply vanished. Indeed, countless forms of life met this fate. The ancient earth, in its deep layers, holds a silent testament, a vast graveyard of evolutionary paths that ultimately led nowhere. Yet, amidst these trials, our own ancestors, in their myriad forms and expressions, found a way to endure. With each great advance of the glaciers, those populations ill-equipped to face the extreme cold were, sadly, winnowed away. And in the warmer, gentler stretches between the ice came opportunities for expansion, for bold experimentation, and for the blossoming of new ideas. Across a span of more than 2 million years, this profound rhythm of nature unfolded, repeating itself countless dozens of times. The ones who persevered emerged a little wiser, a little more nimble in their ways, a little more profoundly human. Then, approximately 200,000 years in the past, the form we recognize as anatomically modern humans, Homo sapiens, made their first appearance upon the African continent. We stood as the newest chapter in a long and enduring lineage, one that had been rigorously tested and exquisitely refined by the relentless forces of ice and bitter cold for 2 million years. From those who came before, we received precious gifts: the mastery of fire, passed down from Homo erectus, the intricate traditions of crafting tools, honed over countless generations, and the profound social bonds of cooperation forged by the very demands of a frigid world. We stand here today, the fortunate inheritors of a filtering process, the most prolonged and arduous one could ever conceive, and yet, even amidst their profound severity, the great ice ages adhered to a certain rhythm. Their cycles, stretching across tens of thousands of years, were vast indeed, but cycles they remained. This allowed populations to slowly adapt across countless generations. Wisdom could gather, and survival strategies could be meticulously honed. In a way, the ice ages offered a grim predictability. Harsh, yes, and undeniably deadly, yet their patterns were known. What was to follow, however, defied all such understanding. The next chapter brought forth an abrupt and utterly catastrophic shift, a climatic upheaval compressed into a time frame so fleeting that no slow, generational adaptation could possibly have readied our ancestors for its arrival. Indeed, this impending event very nearly brought our nascent species to a complete and utter end. However, that particular tale awaits the next segment of our journey, when we shall journey back 75,000 years to a distant island in Indonesia. There, we will bear witness to the very moment when the heavens themselves turned to ash, when winter descended in the heart of summer and humanity. For perhaps the sole instance in our long history found itself poised precariously upon the very precipice of oblivion. For this moment, find solace in the profound knowledge that your ancient forebears endured what seemed unsurvivable. They mastered the art of carrying fire, learned to don the protective skins of beasts, and united their efforts against. Our species, perhaps uniquely in its entire chronicle, stood at the very brink of its own demise. For now, let your mind find peace in the understanding that your distant ancestors overcame the seemingly insurmountable. They discovered how to harness and transport fire, how to clothe themselves in the hides of animals, and how to stand together against the harsh forces of nature, the biting cold, and how every ingenious solution, born from dire necessity, transformed into a precious gift, carefully handed down through the ages, ultimately finding its way to you. That crucible of the Ice Age truly shaped our very being, sharpening our intellect, honing our capacity to adapt. In essence, it sculpted us into what it means to be human. Yet, the trial that lay ahead would truly ascertain if merely being human would suffice. Our gaze now turns to Sumatra, 75 millennia in the past. Far beneath the island's tranquil surface, molten rock had been gathering for countless thousands of years, its immense pressure steadily mounting, causing the very crust of the earth to groan under an unimaginable force. And then, in a geological heartbeat, a moment destined to reverberate throughout the annals of human history. It unleashed its fury. This was no mere volcanic eruption. This was the times volcanic eruption, the most colossal explosion our planet had borne witness to in 2 million years. Mount Toba, a name that would not be conceived for another 74 millennia, detonated with a power equivalent to 3,000 times that of the atomic bomb unleashed upon Hiroshima. 3,000 times. Attempt to envision such a magnitude. It is beyond our grasp, for the human mind was simply not fashioned to truly comprehend destruction on such an... Yet, your distant ancestors bore witness to it, felt its raw power, and, against all odds, they endured. Imagine, if you will, a colossal outpouring. 2,800 cubic kilometers of rock, ash, and fiery molten earth hurled skyward. To truly grasp its magnitude, consider the eruption of Mount Stree, Helens, which, in the year 1980, an event that, to those who witnessed it in our modern age, appeared utterly devastating. Yet, that mighty mountain released but a single cubic kilometer. The ancient Toba, by contrast, unleashed a force 2,800 times greater. So immense was this event that the very island itself gave way, sinking into a vast caldera, a sunken basin stretching more than 60 miles across. The sheer roar of it, a sound beyond human comprehension, would have journeyed around the globe not once, but many times over. A deep, resonant thunder, it echoed across the land for days unending. Yet, the initial, tremendous eruption was merely the prelude, for in the hours that followed, a terrifying pyroclastic cloud began its deadly descent, a swirling tempest of superheated gases and incandescent rock fragments that swept across the landscape with unimaginable speed, hurtling at hundreds of miles each hour. It consumed all in its path within a 200-mile expanse. Then, as days turned into weeks, a fine, gray ash began to drift down, blanketing the vast Indian subcontinent, reaching across Southeast Asia and even as far as East Africa. This was no mere dusting, but rather layers upon layers, measured not in inches, but in feet. Whole ecosystems found themselves entombed beneath this strange gray snow, a blanket that would never melt, and then a profound darkness descended. Tiny particles of sulfur dioxide and fine ash, propelled high into the stratosphere, wove themselves into a dense, planetary veil, shrouding the world. The sun's gentle light grew faint. The very breath of life, photosynthesis, faltered and slowed to a mere whisper. Plants, deprived of warmth and light, began to wither. The creatures that fed upon them, the herbivores, soon knew the pangs of hunger, and the predators who hunted the herbivores inevitably followed them into the great silence of oblivion. This chilling volcanic winter endured for a span of 6 to 10 long years, a full decade, stretching out like an endless night, where the warmth of summer never graced the land, where the rhythms of growth utterly failed, and where the fundamental balance of life itself was thrown into disarray. Across the entire globe, the average temperatures fell by a chilling 3 to 5 degrees Celsius. On its own, this might not seem like a significant shift. Indeed, in your own daily life, you may have felt far greater changes between the cool of morning and the heat of afternoon. But this was not merely a passing change in the weather. No, this was climate itself, a profound and enduring global chill that strained the very fabric of ecosystems beyond their capacity to endure. The lush tropical forests, once vibrant, began to recede. Vast grasslands, once teeming with life, slowly withered into barren dust. Precious freshwater springs and rivers either vanished into dryness or remained locked in ice for ever longer stretches of the year. The world did not merely transform, it shattered. And amidst this broken world, somewhere in the heart of East Africa, a small, fragile band of anatomically modern humans, our very own direct ancestors, stood at a crossroads, confronted by a stark and simple choice. They could either find a way to adapt, to change with the changing world, or they would inevitably join the countless other species fading into the silent annals of extinction. And now, dear listener, our tale takes a turn, revealing a chapter both profoundly captivating and stirringly debated, reaching into the very depths of our understanding. A disquieting revelation, indeed. It was in the twilight years of the 20th century, the 1990s, when keen-eyed geneticists, poring over the intricate tapestry of human mitochondrial DNA, stumbled upon a most curious anomaly. For all our billions, for all our spread across every land and adaptation to every clime, the human family, as it stands today, reveals a surprisingly meager genetic tapestry. Such a limited array of genetic traits seemed utterly incongruous for a species believed to have journeyed and evolved for countless millennia across the Earth's grand expanse. Even our close cousins, the chimpanzees, with their far smaller numbers and more confined territories, possess a richness of genetic variation that surpasses our own, a pattern echoed among many of Earth's larger creatures. It was as though humankind had been squeezed through a narrow evolutionary passage, a moment of profound crisis where our numbers dwindled so catastrophically that but a whisper of our genetic heritage endured. From this observation, the Toba catastrophe theory emerged, whispering of a time when a great volcanic winter may have winnowed the human family down to a mere handful, perhaps no more than 3 to 10,000 souls, or even fewer still. To truly grasp the scale, imagine the inhabitants of but a single, modest village. Every breath drawn today, every unique genetic thread, every lineage, every branch of every family tree, all trace their origins back to that brave, small band of survivors who found solace in hidden refuges as the world outside lay in ruin. Our species, it seems, teetered on the very precipice of oblivion, a brush with extinction far more profound than many imagine, a moment of peril unmatched in our long journey, before or since. And indeed, the ancient whispers from the earth, the archaeological record itself, seem to lend credence to this chilling possibility. Traces of human life from that distant epoch are exceedingly scarce, leaving a profound void, a hushed silence in the grand narrative of human dwelling, a silence that aligns with uncanny precision with the time of the Toba event. In those very places where one might expect to unearth the vibrant signs of thriving human communities, there is only emptiness. The familiar tools of daily life fade from the ancient earth, and the very settlements of our ancestors seem to dissolve into the mists of time. It is as though a great hand had gently, yet firmly, muted the vibrant symphony of human endeavor for countless millennia. Yet, dear listener, it is precisely at this juncture that the comforting certainty of science begins to yield to the gentle murmur of scholarly debate. For not every mind readily embraces the Toba catastrophe theory. Indeed, the Earth has recently yielded new secrets, archaeological discoveries that gently complicate this grand narrative. In certain ancient lands of India, for instance, sites reveal a continuous human presence, undisturbed even through the very heart of the Toba period. Ancient stone tools, carefully unearthed from layers of volcanic ash, whisper a different tale, suggesting that at least some pockets of humanity weathered the storm, their lives continuing without dramatic interruption. And the intricate dance of genetic studies has, in turn, painted conflicting pictures of time. Some threads of evidence still point to a profound population constriction, a severe bottleneck occurring around 75,000 years in the past, while other interpretations suggest a more gentle decline in numbers, or perhaps that such changes unfolded at different moments across the diverse landscapes of our ancient world. The true tapestry of events, as is often the way with the deep currents of time, likely weaves a more intricate pattern than any solitary theory can fully encompass. Perchance, the Toba eruption did not, in fact, forge an abrupt and catastrophic bottleneck. Instead, it may have merely hastened the existing pressures upon populations, pushing communities, already strained, beyond the very brink of their endurance. It is also conceivable that various human populations encountered varying degrees of hardship, where certain lands were utterly laid waste, whilst others, by some grace, emerged largely unscathed. Yet, one truth, however, shines ever brighter through the mists of ages. A profound shift indeed occurred during this epoch. The whispers from our very genes, revealing a diminished diversity, stand as an undeniable testament. Whether a singular fiery cataclysm alone brought this about, or merely contributed to an extended era of population hardship, that, my friends, remains a mystery yet unsolved. But for now, let us assume, for the sake of our understanding, that the fundamental narrative holds true, that human populations dwindled dramatically, and that our ancient forebears confronted a true peril to their very existence. A question then arises: how did they endure? The answer, it seems, unfurls along the coastlines, whilst the inland realms transformed into uninhabitable, desolate expanses, too cold, too parched, too utterly bereft of vegetation. These coastal havens, then, extended a crucial sanctuary. The vast, deep heart of the ocean itself gentled the harsh extremes of temperature. The tides continued their eternal, unwavering cadence, and most crucially, the ocean's bounty remained relatively plentiful, even as the earthly realms withered and collapsed. The humble shellfish, it seems, cared little for a sun veiled by volcanic ash. Mussels, clams, and oysters continued to filter feed upon the plankton and organic particles that persisted, even through the deepest volcanic winters. The rugged intertidal shores, the tranquil tide pools, and the shallow reefs became, in those dire times, the very thread of humanity's existence. Our ancient kin, it would appear, transformed into beachcombers, dwellers of the shore, a people who learned to read the tides and glean the precious gifts from the ocean's very edge. And now, our tale takes a fascinating, unforeseen path, leading us into the realm of neuroscience. For these very shellfish are an extraordinary treasure trove of omega-3 fatty acids, most notably DHA, or docosahexaenoic acid. This vital compound is utterly essential for the intricate development and proper function of the brain. The human brain, that remarkable seat of thought, is a metabolically demanding organ, consuming approximately 20% of our total energy, despite comprising only a mere 2% of our body's mass. It demands particular nourishment to develop correctly and sustain its cognitive prowess, and among these, omega-3 fatty acids stand paramount. Indeed, these are among those crucial elements. When the bounty of the land vanished, when the great migrations of megafauna faltered, and when plant foods grew scarce, those coastal populations, with their access to marine resources, possessed a distinct advantage that inland groups simply did not: nourishment for the mind. The very sustenance, born of catastrophe and forced upon them by dire circumstance, may well have fostered the neurological development that would, in time, come to define our unique human essence. It is indeed a profound and beautiful irony. The most devastating calamity in the annals of human history may have, quite unwittingly, refined our very sustenance, optimizing it for the blossoming of intelligence. Along the sun-drenched southern shores of South Africa, the ancient Pinnacle Point caves hold within their depths a truly extraordinary glimpse into a bygone era. Within these very caverns, diligent archaeological digs have brought to light compelling proof of advanced human ingenuity, stretching back some 70,000 years, precisely when the world reeled from the distant echoes of the Tauber catastrophe. Among these finds were stone tools, carefully treated with heat, hinting at a masterful and controlled harnessing of fire's intense warmth. Evidence also spoke of a methodical gathering from the ocean's bounty, and, perhaps most captivating of all, the intricate preparation of ochre. This ochre, a vibrant red iron oxide, was meticulously ground into a fine powder, then blended with either animal fat or water to form a rich pigment. But for what sacred purpose, one might wonder. It is here, in these ancient practices, that we begin to perceive something truly profound, blossoming forth from the crucible of adversity. The stirrings of symbolic thought, the dawn of abstract reasoning, and the remarkable ability to imbue simple materials with profound significance, crafting representations that transcended the mere demands of daily survival. The presence of ochre gently suggests its use in adorning the body, in sacred ritual markings, and perhaps in the very first whispers of artistic expression. This speaks to a monumental cognitive leap, a newfound capacity to conceptualize through symbols, to convey intricate thoughts, and to actively forge a culture rather than simply subsist through existence. And then, delicate shell beads began to emerge. Within the archaeological tapestry of this very era, at this precise juncture in time, minuscule shells from marine snails were painstakingly pierced and carefully threaded together, fashioned not as implements for survival, nor as sustenance for the body, but purely as adornments. They served as personal embellishments, as markers of status, as tokens of affection, and as artifacts imbued with profound social significance. Amidst the shadow of global calamity, as scattered bands of humanity desperately clung to life in isolated havens, a remarkable transformation began. Our ancestors started to craft beauty, to adorn themselves, and to set their own kin apart from others through the power of shared symbols. One might ponder the reason for such endeavors. Perhaps, when the very fabric of humanity was thinned to mere thousands scattered across the land, the bonds of social cohesion became utterly indispensable. In such precarious times, internal strife was an unthinkable luxury. Every soul was needed to work in concert, to impart wisdom, and to dedicate their efforts to the survival of the whole. These symbolic emblems, the vibrant body paints, the delicate beads, the sacred communal rites, served to forge a collective identity. They wove communities together, transforming a disparate assembly of anxious souls into a single, resolute tribe. Curiously, it appears that smaller populations held their own distinct advantages. The passing down of culture, for instance, became remarkably more fluid and effective when every individual was known to one another. Within such closely woven groups, new ideas and innovations could spread with astonishing speed. There was little space for those who would not contribute, for individuals who sought to take without giving. Thus, the gentle yet firm societal expectation to conform and to collaborate grew ever stronger. In those ancient times, wisdom itself became a treasure, meticulously safeguarded and purposefully imparted. Should such a genetic narrowing have indeed transpired, it would have cast yet another profound shadow, the phenomenon known as the founder effect. When the numbers of a people dwindle, and then, against all odds, begin to rise once more, the very genetic tapestry of those who endured becomes the foundational blueprint for all who are yet to come. Thus, every gene, every characteristic, every inherent tendency carried within those who survived was woven into the very fabric of humanity's enduring legacy. Indeed, Each soul walking the earth today bears within their very being the genetic echoes of those precious few thousand who persevered, carrying forth their resilience, their frailties, and their remarkable ability to adjust. As you gaze upon your own reflection, you are, in truth, witnessing the profound outcome of the most extraordinary evolutionary crucible our kind has ever known. Yet, a profound question lingers, a whisper through the ages that continues to intrigue those who study our ancient past. How did our lineage endure, while other branches of the hominin family faded into history? In those distant epochs, the Neanderthals flourished across the vast expanses of Europe and Asia. They possessed a strength surpassing our own, a remarkable resilience to the biting cold, and minds, on average, of greater capacity. The enigmatic Denisovans held sway over territories throughout Asia, while Homo floresiensis, often called the hobbit species, made their home upon the secluded Indonesian islands. Many distinct human species once walked this earth together, yet, in the span of but 50,000 years following the Toba cataclysm, only a single lineage remained our own. What, then, was the subtle distinction that allowed us to persist? Perhaps the key to this enduring mystery lies not within the realm of mere physical attributes. The Neanderthals, it is true, were exquisitely adapted to the frigid climes. Their sturdy forms and highly efficient metabolisms were perfectly honed for the preservation of warmth. Yet, it is possible they were too finely tuned, too perfectly suited to particular environments. When the world around them shifted with devastating force, their very specializations, once their strength, transformed into their undoing. Modern humans, however, presented a striking contrast. We were true generalists, possessing a remarkable flexibility in our ways. Our diets were wonderfully varied, encompassing meat, fish, plants, insects, and the bounty of the sea. Our ability to make a home was equally broad, allowing us to thrive in forests, across sweeping grasslands, along the ocean's edge, and even in the most challenging and unforgiving terrains. We ventured into environments that other species shunned. Our minds were quick to innovate, forging novel tools and devising clever strategies to meet every shifting challenge. In essence, we were remarkably adaptable, not necessarily the mightiest, nor the most specialized, but undeniably the most adept at embracing transformation. The Great Toba Catastrophe, or perhaps a confluence of other profound occurrences, which diminished the human populations some 75,000 years ago, served as a searing crucible. Within its intense heat, the unyielding were purged. It swept away those communities who lacked the spark of innovation, the spirit of cooperation, or the capacity to profoundly redefine their bond with the world around them. And what then arose from that transformative crucible was truly something novel. Not merely anatomically modern humans, for that physical form had already taken shape, but rather humans who were modern in their very behavior. These were individuals who engaged in symbolic thought, who meticulously planned for distant tomorrows, who wove intricate tapestries of social order, and who imparted knowledge with purpose rather than simply allowing children to learn through mere observation. In essence, these were individuals who would perceive you as fundamentally akin, understanding your humor, your anxieties, and your deepest hopes. In every significant way, they were us. A great calamity did not merely imperil humankind. Rather, it brought us to our full form. A subtle shift in perspective often occurs when one contemplates this narrative for an extended period. Our inclination is to view great misfortunes as solely destructive occurrences, best to be sidestepped, endured, and overcome. Yet, the Toba event, that immense planetary cataclysm which almost extinguished our kind, may have served as the crucible, the intense trial, that forged the very essence of behavioral modernity itself. Would humankind have cultivated symbolic thought without such immense pressure? Would we have forged such profound social connections? Would we have evolved into such dedicated instructors, such meticulous strategists, such inventive problem solvers? Perhaps. The path of evolution is contingent, rather than predetermined. Yet, it is valuable to ponder that the very characteristics we deem most fundamentally human, our ingenuity, our intricate social structures, Our capacity for symbolic thought might have solidified amidst the most intense adversity our forebears ever encountered. Our present existence, in part, stems from the fact that we very nearly did not come to be. The genetic record clearly indicates this. The archaeological findings subtly suggest it. A comparative examination of human cognitive capacities also points to this conclusion. Approximately 75,000 years in the past, a profound and fundamental shift took place. A significant threshold was indeed traversed. The individuals who endured that era were not merely fortunate. They underwent a profound transformation. And now, let us explore what transpired thereafter. With the gentle retreat of the volcanic winter, as the fine ash softly settled and the warmth slowly returned, those resilient, small groups of people began to flourish and grow. Their initial steps were measured and slow, as they carefully explored uncharted lands, tracing the edges of the seas, and skillfully utilizing the ocean's bounty throughout their journey. Approximately 70 millennia passed. A modest band of humankind embarked on a journey from Africa, a company perhaps numbering only a few hundred souls, or even fewer still. Their path led them across into the Arabian Peninsula, a passage made possible, it is thought, during an era when the ocean's waters receded, revealing pathways of land and accessible coastal passages. Within their hearts and minds, they bore the ingenious advancements that had emerged from times of great challenge. A capacity for symbolic thought, advanced methods for crafting tools, intricate frameworks of community, and a nearly boundless, an almost instinctual and profound ability to adapt. Yet, these were not the initial human wanderers to depart from the African continent, for Homo erectus had ventured forth almost 2 million years before. The Neanderthals and the Denisovans, too, had long since made their homes throughout the vast lands of Eurasia. However, this particular journey was unlike any before, for this was the very movement that would eventually fill the entire world. In but 20,000 years, humankind would come to arrive upon the shores of Australia, an expedition demanding intentional voyages across the open ocean and meticulous foresight. And within 40,000 years more, we would come to dwell across Europe, throughout Asia, and upon the many islands of Southeast Asia. And in time, after 60 millennia had passed, our forebears would journey into the lands of the Americas. This brush with oblivion, this near extinction, transformed into a new beginning. What seemed a perilous bottleneck unfurled into a grand dispersal. The very lineage that teetered on the brink of vanishing, instead, blossomed into the most triumphant large mammal our world has ever known. Yet, this vast expansion, this monumental migration, destined to carry humanity to every distant corner of our spinning globe, that, my friend, is a tale for the coming chapters. For this moment, find solace in the wisdom that your ancient ancestors endured, triumphing over the seemingly unsurvivable. Imagine them gathering shellfish upon primeval shores, even as ash drifted down like a silent snow. Picture them grinding ochre and weaving threads of meaning amidst the vast expanse of meaninglessness. Consider how they gazed upon a world in decline, yet chose to adorn themselves with paint, to embellish their very being, to steadfastly remain human, even as the world around them seemed to crumble. The Toba Cataclysm, a monumental event, almost brought our journey to an end. Yet, from its crucible we emerged, an indomitable spirit. Our third chapter now unfolds, revealing the epoch of the last glacial maximum and the remarkable ingenuity of our forebears. Picture, if you will, a time 26 millennia past, when our Earth embarked upon its most profound chill, experienced in 100 millennia. Envision, if you can, ice sheets 2 meters in thickness, a vast blanket covering the expanses of North America, Northern Europe, and Asia. So immense were these glacial formations, their sheer weight caused the very crust of the earth to yield and sink beneath them. This was a chill so profound, it did not merely test the limits of existence, but rather, it reshaped our understanding of what it truly meant to endure. This, then, was the last glacial maximum, the very zenith of that great age of ice. And yet, in a manner almost beyond comprehension, our ancestors not only weathered this harsh era, but found ways to flourish. The very fabric of the world known to our ancient forebears had been utterly transformed. As vast quantities of water became imprisoned within the colossal continental ice sheets, the oceans receded, their levels plummeting by a staggering 120 meters. To offer a sense of scale, this amounted to almost 400 feet. The ancient coastlines stretched for many miles, extending far beyond their modern-day positions. Imagine the English Channel, a verdant plain, the Bering Strait, a 1,000-kilometer-wide grassland, a natural bridge connecting Asia and North America. The myriad islands of what we now call Indonesia, once separate, coalesced into a single immense landmass, known to us as Sunderland. New land bridges appeared, like ancient pathways between realms, and the scope of human possibility widened, even as the areas suitable for life grew smaller. And here we encounter a profound paradox. The Earth revealed more exposed land than ever before, yet a smaller fraction of it could truly sustain human life. Imagine, the ancient ice sheets did not merely cling to the distant Arctic. They stretched across lands where bustling metropolises now rise. Great cities like Chicago, Berlin, and Moscow, in that distant epoch, lay slumbering beneath colossal glaciers. Vast stretches of Canada were cloaked in ice 2 miles thick. Scotland, too, was encased, and the entire Scandinavian peninsula lay utterly entombed. This relentless chill compelled human communities to seek sanctuary in refugia, small havens of relative warmth dispersed across 3 vast continents. These precious havens included the sun-drenched shores of southern Europe, particularly along the Mediterranean, the expansive steppes of Central Asia and southern Siberia, and certain regions of the Middle East and North Africa. Here, in secluded valleys and along coastal fringes, unique microclimates provided precisely enough warmth, sufficient sustenance, and a glimmer of enduring hope. Within these isolated sanctuaries, though separated by countless miles of desolate frozen wilderness, human culture did not merely endure, it blossomed with astonishing vitality. Our journey begins in the ancient lands of southwestern Europe, where, some 22,000 years ago, the remarkable Solutrean culture first took root. These ancient artisans, confined by the vast ice sheets to their north and the boundless sea to their south, forged what many consider the most refined stone tool technology ever known in human prehistory. The Solutrean and their distinctive laurel leaf blades are, indeed, celebrated marvels within the annals of archaeology. Delicate as a whisper, some stretching beyond a foot in length, their surfaces were flaked with such exquisite precision that their creation appears almost beyond human capability. Even today, skilled archaeologists, modern masters with decades of dedicated practice, find themselves challenged to replicate such ancient artistry. Yet, these were far more than mere implements. They stood as profound declarations, undeniable evidence of supreme mastery in a world where absolute perfection was not merely desired, but utterly essential. For there was no room for even the slightest misstep. Indeed, from scarcity, true refinement often emerges. In times of plenty, when resources flow freely, one might permit a degree of wastefulness, or settle for what is merely sufficient. However, when each precious fragment of workable flint holds immense value, when a fractured tool could spell the stark difference between sustenance and starvation, one does not simply craft implements, one creates functional artistry, sharp and true. Yet, the true revolution, the profound innovation that truly marked the divide between enduring life and utter disappearance in the harsh Arctic realms, was not, surprisingly, a more formidable spear point. No, it was the humble needle. Approximately 30,000 years ago, a brilliant mind conceived the eyed needle, a delicate sliver of bone or ivory, meticulously shaped, with a tiny aperture painstakingly bored through one end. It doesn't sound impressive until you consider what it enabled: tailored clothing. Before needles, humans wore animal skins draped over their bodies, tied or pinned in place. This was effective enough in moderate climates, but utterly insufficient when temperatures plunged to -40 degrees. This is when exposed skin freezes in minutes, and the wind cuts through loose garments like they're not even there. Tailored clothing, fitted, layered, and sealed at the wrists and ankles, creates a microclimate around your body. It traps warm air, blocks wind, and transforms humans from tropical apes who borrowed fire and hides into genuine Arctic survivors. The needle didn't just keep people warm. It opened the northern world to human habitation and made Siberia survivable. And we know people took full advantage because of places like Sunia, Sunier, Russia, approximately 34,000 years ago. Here, archaeologists uncovered one of the most spectacular Ice Age burial sites ever found. 2 children were buried head-to-head in a single grave, their bodies adorned with thousands of ivory beads. Thousands. Each bead individually carved from mammoth tusks, each requiring hours of meticulous work. One child wore a belt with 250 fox teeth. The other had an ivory pin decorated with carved dots. Nearby, an adult burial contained similar wealth: ivory bracelets, a carved pendant, a hat decorated with fox teeth, and more than 3,000 ivory beads sewn onto clothing that had long since decayed. Do the math. Conservative estimates suggest the beads alone represent 10,000 hours of skilled labor. That's 5 person-years of full-time work for funerals for children. This isn't survival. This is society. This is culture so complex, so invested in symbolic meaning that it dedicates thousands of hours to honoring the dead, to making statements about status, about belonging, about what it means to be part of a community. The last glacial maximum didn't strip away human culture. It concentrated it, refined it, made it essential. Because when the world is trying to kill you, meaning matters. Belonging matters. Indeed, the very tales that wove your community into a single fabric proved to be a technology for survival, as indispensable as the sharpest spear clutched in your grasp. And as we ponder the spear, let us now turn our thoughts to the grand pursuit of the mighty mammoth. The woolly mammoth, that majestic emblem of the ancient Ice Age, possessed an exquisite design, perfectly suited for the harsh embrace of glacial climes. Imagine a creature cloaked in a 6-inch layer of insulating fat, adorned with a thick, shaggy hide, and possessing blood uniquely crafted to flow freely even in the most bitter chill. These were truly living bastions of nature's perfect design, yet, with remarkable regularity and skill, ancient humans pursued and brought them down. Across the vast, windswept Eurasian steppes, the silent testimony of their encounters lies scattered. Ancient kill sites where mammoth bones bear the unmistakable etchings of human tools, and great collections of tusks and skeletal remains, whose presence there speaks only of human hands having moved them. And perhaps most strikingly, one finds dwelling structures crafted wholly from the very bones of these giants. Close your eyes and envision this scene. Upon the vast, frozen plains of what we now call Ukraine and Russia, in lands where towering trees were either rare or altogether absent, and where winter's icy breath brought temperatures that would plummet to truly perilous extremes, there, our ancient ancestors, the humans, ingeniously fashioned their shelters from the sturdy bones of the very beasts they had so skillfully pursued. Imagine, then, mammoth skulls forming the solid base, with powerful leg bones and curved ribs carefully arranged to form circular walls, and magnificent tusks gently arching high above, providing the framework for roofs crafted from layers of hide and earth. Let it be known, these were no mere crude huts. Instead, the finest preserved examples reveal a testament to truly sophisticated architectural foresight and design. Within these ancient dwellings, one would discover multiple chambers, each warmed by a central hearth, and ample spaces for storage. Deep pits were carefully excavated into the enduring permafrost, a clever method to keep their precious meat perfectly preserved and frozen for many months. Indeed, some of these grand structures demanded the bones of 20 or even more magnificent mammoths, a testament to countless years of successful hunts and the diligent and thoughtful curation of their precious materials. While the sheer engineering itself is truly impressive, let us pause to consider the profound cognitive leap that such creations truly represent. Imagine, someone gazed upon a mammoth's skeletal remains and perceived not merely a source of sustenance, nor simply raw material, but rather the very framework of a dwelling. Someone then meticulously planned structures robust enough to withstand the harshest of winter storms. Someone, too, took on the task of organizing the collective labor required to construct these marvels and maintain the intricate knowledge needed to replicate them. patiently teaching the next generation the precise ways to achieve such feats. And all of this remarkable ingenuity unfolded while dwelling within one of the most challenging environments humanity has ever known or inhabited. Yet, during this very same epoch, in the depths of caves scattered across the vast expanse of ancient Europe, humans also were crafting some of the most magnificent, awe-inspiring artistry our kind has ever brought forth. Lascaux, Chauvet, Altamira. These names resonate through the annals of archaeology like hallowed grounds, which, in a profound way, they truly were. Nestled deep within limestone caverns, frequently within chambers demanding arduous and perilous journeys, the artists of the Ice Age rendered creatures with such profound skill, such an intimate grasp of their forms and motions, that even now they leave us breathless. Even after 20 millennia, we can still behold horses in full gallop, depicted in profile, their limbs artfully arranged to convey movement, and bison brought to life with shading that conjures three-dimensional presence upon the unyielding stone. Cave lions, colossal mammoths, mighty rhinoceroses, and a multitude of other creatures, all portrayed with a precision that whispers of a deep understanding, forged through tireless observation and the stark demands of survival. But why? What compelled them to dedicate such invaluable time and precious resources? Even the very pigments themselves demanded laborious preparation, for these masterpieces were destined to reside in the hidden depths of perpetual darkness. Many theories have, of course, been put forth. Perhaps they were for hunting magic, or shamanic visions, or served as markers of territory, or even chronicles of seasonal journeys. It is likely that each holds a glimmer of truth. Yet, consider this alternative perspective. Art often flourishes most brilliantly amidst hardship, for humanity's yearning for meaning intensifies profoundly when the very act of survival hangs in the balance. When one's very existence is fragile, when companions have been lost to the biting cold, the gnawing hunger, and the arbitrary harshness of a world encased in ice, there arises a profound need for something to declare, "We walked this earth. We perceived its wonders. Our lives held significance." These ancient caverns were far more than mere galleries of art. They served as sacred temples, vital schools, and invaluable archives of knowledge. Within their depths, tales were spun and recounted anew, where the young were taught which beasts posed a threat, which offered sustenance, how they moved, and how they conducted themselves. Here, the wisdom gathered over countless generations was carefully etched in pigment and transmitted through firelit rituals that wove communities together. Throughout the ages, the act of storytelling transcended mere amusement. It was, in essence, a technology for survival. Those groups capable of conveying knowledge with greater efficacy, of orchestrating their hunts through a common narrative, and of preserving their social unity through sacred rites and artistic expression, these were the ones who endured, while others faded into oblivion. Indeed, the archaeological findings increasingly reveal clear indications of precisely this foresightful cooperation. Consider, for example, the practice of storing food. Deep within the frozen earth, where permafrost held its ancient secrets, archaeologists unearthed hidden storage pits. These were carefully filled with preserved meats, intentionally set aside for a time yet to come. Such foresight speaks to a profound capacity for delayed gratification, a remarkable ability to envision and plan for distant future needs. It demanded a deep trust that one's provisions would remain undisturbed, that the community would endure through the seasons, and that the wisdom of preparing for tomorrow outweighed the allure of today's plenty. At its heart, it was an act of profound belief in the very existence of a future. And so, the ancient pathways of trade whisper a tale of similar depth and connection. Imagine delicate shells, once kissed by the Atlantic's waves, discovered 1,000 kilometers from their ocean home, deep within the continent's embrace. Or consider the finest flint, quarried from particular, revered sites, its sharp edges traveling across hundreds of kilometers to distant hands. Golden amber, journeying from the Baltic shores, and vibrant ochre, sourced from far-off lands, were exchanged and cherished not merely for their form, but for the deep symbolic meaning they carried. Yet, these intricate networks were never solely about the exchange of tangible goods. They served as the very sinews of social connection, a vital infrastructure for community. A single shell, carried from the distant coast and worn by someone deep in the interior, became a tangible thread, binding them to kin far away. It was a quiet declaration of belonging, a testament to being part of something grander than one's immediate family or small group. A gentle whisper, reminding them that even amidst the profound isolation of the glacial maximum, they were never truly alone. These ancient pathways of trade, then, were lifelines, sustaining existence in ways both seen and unseen. Through these routes, much more than mere objects began to spread. For these journeys carried not only precious materials, but also the seeds of new ideas, ingenious techniques, and the rich tapestry of shared stories. As different groups gathered to exchange their wares, they invariably shared something far more valuable: their accumulated knowledge. Perhaps a more efficient way to attach a spear point, or a novel method for preparing animal hides, passed from one mind to another. Tales were told of the great herd's migrations, whispers of the ice's slow advance, and precious insights into which hidden valleys still teemed with game. Thus, the gentle current of information became as vital and cherished as the steady stream of tangible goods. Among the ancient lands, none held greater significance than Beringia, that expansive grassland which once formed a bridge between the continents of Asia and North America during the deepest chill of the glacial age. Indeed, it was far more than a mere land connection. Beringia itself was a distinct realm, spanning 1,000 kilometers from north to south, nurturing both human communities and magnificent megafauna within its cool, yet surprisingly fertile environment. Within this unique landscape, ancient Asian peoples began to branch, with some choosing to remain in the vastness of Siberia, while others, as the great ice sheets receded and allowed safe passage, ventured onward into the Americas. This Beringian sanctuary offered just enough seclusion for distinct genetic lines and cultural practices to emerge, yet it remained sufficiently linked to the wider world to preserve a thread of connection. It served as both a vital crossroads and a cherished homeland, a pivotal starting point for one of humankind's most extraordinary journeys across the globe. And the resourceful inhabitants of this land were not without their own ingenious creations. Among these, perhaps the most remarkable was the atlatl, a device known to us as the spear thrower. This ingenious tool, deceptively simple in its design, consisted of a shaft tipped with a hook, which, in essence, lengthened the hunter's arm, thereby amplifying the power behind each hurled spear. Thus, the very principles of physics were harnessed and transformed into a profound advantage for the hunt. Wielding an atlatl, one could propel a spear twice the distance, imbued with considerably greater force. This allowed hunters to pursue their quarry from a much safer remove. And with such enhanced precision and power, even the largest of game could be brought down with increased certainty. It was a truly elegant answer to a primal need, a testament to human ingenuity, independently conceived in various corners of the world throughout history. Yet, during the profound chill of the last glacial maximum, when the very survival of a community hinged upon the efficiency of its hunt, the atlatl held sway for countless millennia, serving its purpose faithfully until the advent of the bow eventually superseded it. However, the mere presence of advanced tools and techniques does not, by itself, nurture the young. And it is precisely here that the true narrative of enduring the glacial maximum reveals its deepest significance. For times of scarcity do not merely call for new inventions and clever solutions, they also necessitate the careful instruction of these very innovations to the generations yet to come. In eras of plenty, when resources flow freely, the young may often acquire knowledge through the gentle path of experimentation and occasional missteps. In times of abundance, a misstep carried little consequence. Yet, when the very edge of survival was sharp, when a flawed implement or a hunt gone awry meant immediate disaster, the imparting of knowledge grew deliberate, organized, and utterly indispensable. The ancient earth, through its unearthed treasures from this era, whispers of a growing tradition of instruction, fragments of practice, where eager novices honed their skill in shaping stone, guided by the patient hands of masters. Simple implements, crafted by the small hands of children, lay nestled beside the magnificent creations of their elders. These subtle patterns hint that the passing down of wisdom became a more intentional and methodical endeavor. The act of teaching was not merely the conveyance of facts. It was the very pulse of cultural evolution, unfolding before their eyes. A community that mastered the art of effective instruction would steadily gather a rich store of knowledge, generation after generation. Each new generation, like a sturdy tree, grew upon the roots of the last, refining ancient techniques, weaving in fresh innovations, and thus building a vast treasury of wisdom essential for survival. And the immense pressures of the glacial maximum, that great age of ice, only hastened this profound transformation. Those communities that embraced formalized teaching endured, while those who did not faded into the mists of time. Your own ancestors were among those very children who eagerly learned, the adults who patiently taught, and the wise grandparents who held the precious memories of the past, passing down this vital knowledge, generation after generation, slowly accumulating the wisdom that would one day blossom into civilization itself. Yet, survival was not solely a matter of culture and shared wisdom. It was, in equal measure, a profound biological journey. As human populations slowly journeyed and adapted to the chill embrace of northern latitudes, subtle genetic transformations began to gather. A lighter complexion, for example, offered a distinct advantage in lands where the sun's warmth was often scarce. Such fairer skin could more readily produce vital vitamin D, even when the sun's rays were but a gentle whisper. Thus, the genetic markers for pale pigmentation, once uncommon in the African cradle, began their swift journey across the burgeoning European peoples during these ancient times. Then came the quiet shifts in metabolism, allowing bodies to hold their inner warmth with greater efficiency. Alterations in the very way fat was distributed offered improved insulation. These subtle physiological adjustments, like nature's gentle hand, rendered life in the biting cold a little less perilous. These profound transformations did not unfold in a single sunrise. Instead, they gathered slowly, patiently, across countless thousands of years, spanning hundreds upon hundreds of generations. The Great Ice Age, a formidable force, certainly favored those who could endure the biting cold. Yet, it was upon the human spirit and mind that its most profound imprints were left. Those ancient souls, dwelling through endless months of winter's gloom, through seasons where the sun offered but a fleeting glimpse, forged within themselves a pattern that echoes within us still. These rhythmic shifts in spirit and vitality, known to us today as seasonal affective disorder, were, for the inhabitants of the northern Ice Age lands, simply the rhythm of existence itself. The melancholic embrace of winter was not then considered an affliction. Rather, it was the very fabric of their daily lives. And it is here, perhaps, that the roots of human spirituality began to deepen and blossom. When one's world is cloaked in darkness for countless months, when the sun's gentle return marks the very boundary between hope's embrace and despair's cold grip, the solstice becomes far more than a mere observation. One honors it with profound reverence. One weaves it into sacred rites. One elevates it to a hallowed status. The ancient cave art, the meticulously prepared burials, the dedication to crafting symbolic treasures, all these whisper of an inner world as intricate and rich as our own. Souls who, like us, wrestled with life's most profound inquiries. What is the purpose of our fleeting existence? What awaits us beyond the veil of life? What true significance do our brief journeys hold against the backdrop of a vast, unfeeling cosmos? The Great Ice Age did not merely challenge the resilience of human flesh and the sharpness of human wit. It also put the very essence of the human spirit to its ultimate trial. And yet, amidst the deepest shadows, the most biting cold, and the most formidable trials our kind had ever known, that indomitable spirit did not merely persist, it ascended to new heights. Creative expression blossomed, and the intricate tapestry of human society grew ever more elaborate. Wisdom gathered, piece by precious piece, and flowed gently from one generation to the next. Intricate webs of commerce began to unfurl, reaching far and wide across the great land masses. The young ones were nurtured, not merely to endure the world, but to blossom within it. Imagine, if you will, 20,000 years in the past. As the colossal glaciers commenced their gradual withdrawal, humankind found itself standing at the precipice of a profound metamorphosis. They had, against all odds, weathered trials that seemed utterly insurmountable. Their spirits had bent and reshaped themselves to embrace the most formidable extremes, conditions that, by all accounts, should have been beyond adaptation. Through it all, they had steadfastly preserved their very essence, their deep-seated ability to perceive beauty, to seek profound meaning, and to forge lasting bonds, even as the world around them appeared intent on snuffing out these precious flames. Yet, as the vast sheets of ice commenced their slow surrender, a new and distinct trial began to unfold before them. This was no longer the struggle of adapting to meager resources. Instead, it was the gentle art of adapting to a world of plenty, no longer merely enduring within sheltered havens, but rather venturing forth into the wide expanse of freshly unveiled lands. Their task was not simply to safeguard ancient wisdom, but to thoughtfully apply it to a world that was now transforming with unprecedented swiftness. The very frozen realm that had so profoundly shaped their existence was gently yielding, and with its thaw, every single aspect of their lives, without exception, stood on the brink of profound alteration. We now turn our gaze to Section 5, the Younger Dryas and the Dawn of the Agricultural Revolution, an era spanning from 12,900 to 11,600 years before our time. Allow your mind to wander back, if you will, to a time some 13,000 years in the past, and imagine yourself as one of the people walking upon that ancient earth. Through countless generations, across the span of many centuries, your forebears have borne witness to the slow, majestic unfolding of the world's transformation. The colossal blankets of ice, which once held sway over the northern territories, are now gracefully receding. Verdant forests are gently unfurling their embrace, claiming the very lands where once the vast, open tundra met the distant horizon. Wild game flourishes in great numbers. The very air grows warmer, and the climate settles into a gentle, steady rhythm. Your ancient lineage, your very ancestors, had bravely weathered the most formidable trials that the planet itself could possibly unleash upon them. And now, finally, the Earth seems to be offering a reprieve. And then, in less than a decade, winter returns. Not gradually, not predictably, but catastrophically. Temperatures plummet 7 degrees Celsius in what might have been a single human lifetime, possibly faster. The forests die back. The rains fail. The animals your people have hunted for generations disappear or migrate beyond reach. And this isn't a temporary cold snap. This is a return to Ice Age conditions that will last 13 centuries, 1,300 years of renewed crisis. This is the Younger Dryas, and it changed everything. The name itself comes from a small Arctic flower, Dryas octopetala, whose pollen suddenly reappears in the geological record across Europe after millennia of absence, a botanical signature of catastrophe. Scientists discovered this abrupt climate reversal in ice cores and lake sediments, a sharp deviation in the otherwise steady warming trend that followed the last glacial maximum. The data shows a world that was healing, suddenly wounded again. But here's where it gets fascinating. We still don't know exactly what caused it. The leading theory involves the massive ice sheets covering North America. As they melted, they created enormous glacial lakes. Lake Agassiz alone contained more water than all of today's Great Lakes combined. These lakes were dammed by ice, and when those dams broke, unimaginable volumes of fresh water surged into the North Atlantic. Not gradually, but in catastrophic floods that would dwarf anything in recorded human history. This freshwater deluge disrupted the Atlantic meridian, overturning circulation, the ocean conveyor belt that carries warm water north and cold water south. When this system shut down or dramatically slowed, it triggered a climate cascade. Europe and North America plunged back into near glacial conditions virtually overnight. But that's just one theory. Others point to evidence of a cosmic impact, a comet or asteroid airburst that scattered across the northern hemisphere, 12,900 years ago. Proponents cite a layer of sediment rich in platinum, microscopic diamonds, and carbon spherules, signatures of extraterrestrial impact. It is posited that this celestial impact ignited vast conflagrations across entire land masses, propelling fragments of matter into the very air we breathe and unsettling the great ice formations, thereby bringing about both widespread inundation and a dramatic shift in the world's weather patterns. Yet, the scholarly discourse persists. The evidence, it seems, is still subject to differing interpretations. However, for those ancient peoples enduring such tumultuous times, the underlying reason held no significance. Their sole concern was the struggle for existence, and on this particular occasion, the continuation of their lineage would demand an innovation never before witnessed. A development that, across 2 million years of human advancement, had simply not yet come to pass. It would necessitate the abandonment of the wandering existence that had, for so long, guided our kind across the vast expanse of the world. Within the Levant, that verdant passage extending from what we now know as Israel, through Lebanon and Syria, and into southeastern Turkey, a people known as the Nufians were already redefining the very essence of a hunter-gatherer existence. Their way of life was semi-sedentary, neither entirely fixed in one place, nor perpetually wandering. They erected enduring edifices of stone, crafting circular habitations partially excavated into the ground, complete with timber frameworks and roofs of woven thatch. Certain of these communities provided shelter for scores of families. From solid rock, they meticulously fashioned mortars and pestles. They produced works of art, including sculpted figurines, adorned artifacts, and intricate personal adornments. Most significantly, they were gathering wild cereals. The remnants, unearthed by archaeologists, speak with undeniable clarity. Blades from sickles, bearing a unique luster, a minuscule gleam formed solely through the severing of grass stalks, are discovered across all Nufian settlements. These were not merely incidental implements, rather they represented standardized, purpose-built instruments. Fashioned in considerable numbers, tools crafted from ground stone, intended for the preparation of cereals, along with subterranean storage pits and dedicated roasting areas, collectively constituted the complete technological ensemble for harnessing the bounty of wild cereals. Untamed wheat and barley flourished profusely throughout the region during the period of warm, moist conditions that preceded the Younger Dryas epoch. It was the Natufians who, with keen insight, discovered the rhythm of these grains, learning to gather them with the seasons, prepare them for keeping, and lay them aside as a steadfast source of sustenance. Such a discovery granted them the gift of remaining in a single dwelling place, a longer tenure than any forebear of humankind, allowing them to raise more enduring shelters and to gather unto themselves cherished belongings, fostering the growth of more intricate social arrangements. Indeed, they stood upon the very precipice of a profound transformation, when suddenly the chill winds of the Younger Dryas descended. The bountiful wild grain fields, which had nourished ever-growing communities, began to wither and falter. The very air grew colder, the lands drier. The dependable rhythms of the seasons, which had permitted the effortless gathering of wild grains, simply faded away. In the face of such a profound challenge, the Natufians found themselves contemplating a handful of paths forward. One choice was to forsake their established homes and revert to a wandering existence, pursuing the ever-scarcer game and wild flora of the land, or, alternatively, to remain in place and face the grim specter of hunger. Yet, there was a third way, a path untrodden by any human before them. They could, with deliberate effort, nurture the very plants upon which their lives hinged. This, then, is known as the climate stress hypothesis, a theory concerning the very beginnings of agriculture. It posits that the art of farming did not arise from an era of plenty and ease, but rather from periods of profound crisis and urgent need, suggesting that the Younger Dryas did not merely happen alongside the birth of agriculture, it was, in fact, its very catalyst. The proof, indeed, is quite persuasive. The most ancient locations, revealing undeniable cultivation of tamed grains, trace their beginnings to the close of the Younger Dryas, approximately 11,600 years past, precisely when the world's climate at last found its equilibrium. Yet, the foundational practices that would ultimately lead to domestication, the careful choosing of seeds, the clearing of the earth, the safeguarding of nascent fields most probably took root amidst the very heart of that challenging era. For when a community, though not fully settled, found itself on the brink of hunger, it did not simply abandon the precious investment made in its enduring homes. No, instead, it committed itself even more deeply. Such times called for ingenuity. They sought to master the very flora and fauna upon which their continued existence relied. Yet, the tale takes an even more astonishing turn. High upon a gentle rise in southeastern Turkey, a place known as Göbekli Tepe, there, archaeologists unearthed a marvel that seemed to defy all understanding. Colossal stone pillars, some exceeding 10 tons in weight, meticulously arranged within circular sanctuaries, adorned with intricate carvings of creatures, foxes, lions, scorpions, vultures, and serpents. These T-shaped megaliths stood as silent guardians, scores of them, hundreds of tons of sculpted rock, painstakingly moved and set upright, solely by the strength of human hands and the ingenuity of stone implements. This ancient place dates back some 11.5 millennia, precisely to the close of the Younger Dryas period. And here lies the profound revelation. Those who raised these structures were not tillers of the soil. Indeed, Göbekli Tepe was fashioned by the hands of hunter-gatherers. Within its bounds, no trace of cultivated plants or tamed beasts has been found, no lasting abodes, nor any indication of continuous habitation. It served as a sacred gathering place, erected and frequented by those who yet embraced the age-old ways of the hunt and the harvest from the wild. Yet, these very people were raising monuments of such grandeur that they would overshadow any structures built for thousands of years into the future. But why? The long-held understanding of humanity's ascent suggests a clear progression. First, the cultivation of the land, then an abundance of sustenance, followed by specialized crafts, and finally, the emergence of social strata and grand edifices. Thus, the taming of the earth was believed to be the very foundation of civilization. However, Göbekli Tepe presents a profound inversion of this established order. It whispers that intricate societal structures, distinct social ranks, and the creation of monumental works may have, in fact, emerged first. That even those who lived by hunting and gathering possessed the capacity to orchestrate immense communal undertakings, to sustain specialized crafts, and to forge sophisticated systems of ritual. Indeed, the profound impulse to construct hallowed places may well have predated and perhaps even spurred humanity's eventual turn towards cultivating the land. Let us ponder, for a moment, the immense endeavor required to bring a place like Göbekli Tepe into being. One would first need to extract colossal stones from the very bedrock, armed with naught but tools of stone. Then these immense burdens would require transport, by some means, across the landscape to the chosen building ground. And finally, the delicate task of carving intricate designs upon their surfaces would commence. Imagine the immense task of orchestrating hundreds of souls, guiding them through the passage of many seasons, and, of course, the fundamental requirement, to provide sustenance for every one of them. Such endeavors demanded a bountiful surplus, more than just enough for the day. Now, consider a hunter-gatherer community, nestled within the harsh embrace of the Younger Dryas climate shift, as their wild provisions dwindled. How, then, could they possibly conjure such an abundance? The answer, it seems, lay in taking command of the very processes of food creation. Indeed, some scholars of ancient times now propose a fascinating notion, that the very impulse to erect grand structures for sacred rites was the true catalyst, propelling humanity towards the cultivation of the land. It was the profound call of faith, the shared yearning to assemble, to construct, and to offer devotion as one, that forged the very circumstances which rendered the practice of farming indispensable. Thus, the spiritual realm, it is suggested, paved the way for the pragmatic. This is an intriguing concept, one that illuminates a truth of profound importance. The minds that first conceived of agriculture were far from unsophisticated. Their ways were anything but rudimentary. They possessed intricate spiritual frameworks, highly developed societal arrangements, and the remarkable ability to orchestrate monumental collective undertakings. In every significant aspect, these were humans of modern intellect and behavior, confronted by a trial unlike any before. The very land where this profound metamorphosis unfolded, known to us as the Fertile Crescent, was not merely a chance occurrence in the annals of time. From the shores of the Persian Gulf, sweeping northwest across the lands of Mesopotamia, and then curving gently southward along the Levantine coastline, this crescent-shaped expanse held within it an unparalleled convergence of elements. Here, a Mediterranean climate graced the earth with winter rains, while diverse elevations sculpted a tapestry of ecological havens. And, most remarkably, the wild progenitors of wheat, barley, lentils, peas, sheep, goats, cattle, and pigs all thrived together within this singular domain. Nowhere else across the vast expanse of our planet could one find such a harmonious gathering of species ripe for domestication, living in such close communion. The journey of domestication itself was a slow, unfolding narrative, likely beginning without conscious intent. For when one gathered the grains of wild wheat, a natural inclination led to the selection of those seeds that clung steadfastly, refusing to shatter and disperse upon ripening, as these were the very ones that could be successfully gathered. As those very seeds found their way into the earth in seasons yet to come, a subtle, unintended selection for that particular characteristic began to unfold. Through the passage of many generations, these plants began their gentle transformation. Their seeds grew larger, their heads held their precious bounty more securely, and certain genetic shifts, once a hindrance in the untamed wilderness, now proved a blessing under human care. A similar quiet evolution was observed among the animal kingdom, particularly among the gentle sheep and the nimble goats, those very creatures that found solace in human presence, displaying a calmer, less aggressive disposition, and whose growth unfolded with greater swiftness. It was these very individuals who were destined to thrive and to pass on their gentle lineage within the confines of human keeping. As the seasons turned into centuries, a profound realization dawned. Humanity was no longer merely tending to creatures of the wild. Instead, a wondrous transformation was underway, birthing entirely new forms of life, beings now utterly dependent on the gentle hand of human care for their very existence. This dance of domestication, you see, was a path walked by two, a journey of mutual influence. While we, with our intentions, reshaped their forms and their spirits, they, in turn, subtly wove themselves into the fabric of our own being. The silent, enduring testimony of our very bodies bears witness to this profound shift. Ancient skeletons, unearthed from the cradles of early farming settlements, whisper tales of a noticeable diminishment in the average stature of those who tilled the soil. When measured against their nomadic hunter-gatherer forebears, the men, it is said, saw their average height recede by some 6 inches, and the women by a gentle 4. Moreover, their very bones began to reveal growing signs of the burdens of poor nourishment, the ravages of illness, and the weariness of repetitive toil. Their very teeth told a tale of decline, far more grievous than before, decay, painful infections, and the telltale marks of constant grain grinding upon the millstone. These early cultivators of the land were often found to be shorter in stature, more prone to sickness, and endured greater hardships than the nomadic hunter-gatherers who had walked these lands before them. One might then ponder, what compelled them to embrace such a life? For agriculture, despite the heavy price it exacted, held one singular, profound boon. It possessed the power to sustain a far greater number of souls within each square mile of earth. A hunter-gatherer's domain, for instance, might only nourish a single individual for every mile of land, or perhaps 5 in the most exceptionally bountiful of settings. Yet, a parcel of agricultural land could readily sustain 50, 100, or even more. Once one chose to embark upon the path of cultivation, the numbers of one's people could then blossom forth. And once this blossoming of humanity had occurred, there was no turning back. For there would no longer be sufficient wild game remaining to sustain such a vast multitude. The ancient arts of the hunt and the ancient art of tracking, a wisdom carefully handed down through countless generations, began to gently recede. The profound understanding of the wild, plant resources slowly dwindled. Young ones came of age, knowing only the ways of the farmer. It was a passage from which there was no return, a threshold humanity crossed during the Younger Dryas and the years that followed, a shift so monumental that its echoes still shape our world today. Then, some 11 millennia and 6 centuries passed. The Younger Dryas drew to a close as swiftly as it had arrived. The Earth's climate found its balance once more. Thus began the Holocene epoch, the very age in which we now reside. And within this new era, a truly remarkable truth emerged. The Holocene has been graced by an extraordinary and enduring climate stability. Across the span of the last 10,000 years, the world's temperatures have gently swayed, yet always remained within a remarkably confined embrace. No sudden violent shifts, no harsh, unexpected turns, only a gentle rhythm of consistent, foreseeable conditions. Such a prolonged period of calm, it must be said, stands as a curious anomaly within the vast tapestry of Earth's climatic past. And it is surely no mere happenstance that the dawn of human civilization unfolded within this very tranquil interval. For the tender shoots of agriculture to thrive, a steady, predictable hand was essential. One must possess the quiet assurance that the life-giving rains would arrive, that the season for growth would stretch long enough, and that winter's chill would not descend too soon to claim the precious harvest. In a world as tempestuous and unpredictable as the ages before the Holocene, the very notion of settled farming would have been a near impossibility. A mere 10 years of hardship could spell ruin for a settled people, their very survival tied to the precious stores of grain. Yet, within the gentle embrace of the stable Holocene, the practice of farming began to flourish. And as it took root and prospered in the bountiful lands of the Fertile Crescent, its influence began to gently unfurl across the world. Scholars of ancient times refer to this phenomenon as demic diffusion, the quiet expansion of farming ways carried forth by the movement of peoples themselves. The early cultivators of the land often nurtured more offspring than their hunter-gatherer kin. Their numbers swelled, and with each generation, they gently ventured forth, settling into new and untouched territories. New lands, carrying their cherished, domesticated plants and animals with them, journeying across Anatolia into the heart of Europe, eastward into the vastness of Central Asia, and southward into the ancient lands of Africa. The very threads of our genetic heritage whisper this tale most clearly. The people of modern Europe bear within them a significant lineage from these pioneering Neolithic farmers who journeyed from the Near East. Yet it was not solely the movement of people that shaped this transformation. Beyond mere sustenance, it was a profound cultural exchange. Those nomadic souls, dwelling on the fringes of burgeoning agricultural lands, could not help but observe the compelling boons. The promise of sustaining more lives, the comfort of a settled existence, and the gathering of earthly treasures beckoned. Thus, some among them chose to embrace the farmer's way, yet others held fast, steadfastly preserving their ancient customs and ways of life through countless generations. Indeed, the path forward was not always clear. In lands blessed with nature's bounty, shores teeming with fish, woodlands rich with game, the ancient practices of hunting and gathering continued to flourish, often seeming the more gentle and wise choice. Why, one might ponder, would one embrace the arduous toil of cultivation when the wilderness so generously provided? Many communities, in their wisdom, deferred this great shift until the relentless march of agricultural peoples or the subtle whispers of a changing world left them no other recourse. However, in those places where the seeds of agriculture took root, the currents of change began to flow with astonishing swiftness. And so, across a span of mere millennia, the humble pot emerged, a vessel essential for the keeping and preparing of grains. Alongside it, the ancient art of working metals began to unfold. From the soft gleam of copper to the strength of bronze, and finally the resilience of iron, these metals were forged by the yearning for superior implements and defenses. And with them, dwellings of stone and earth grew from simple shelters into structures of enduring grandeur. Small hamlets blossomed into bustling towns. Towns, in turn, swelled into magnificent cities. and in the Fertile Crescent of Mesopotamia, some 5 millennia and 4 centuries past, the very act of writing began its journey, a profound echo of the agricultural revolution. Consider, if you will, that the wondrous craft of writing emerged but 5,000 years ago, a mere blink in time compared to the 200 millennia, or more, that anatomically modern humans have graced this earth. To place this in perspective, our human ancestors walked this planet for at least 75,000 years before the first seeds of agriculture were ever sown. Through the overwhelming expanse of human history, our forebears lived as wanderers, gathering nature's gifts and pursuing the wild creatures of the land. In those ancient epochs, the currents of cultural transformation flowed with a gentle, gradual rhythm, unfolding across thousands of years. Yet, with the advent of agriculture, the tempo of change quickened, accelerating beyond all prior measure. Herein lies the profound enigma of the Younger Dryas epoch. That very climatic upheaval, which compelled humanity to forsake the way of life that had nurtured us for 2 million years, simultaneously ignited a wondrous torrent of ingenuity and invention. From these seeds of innovation would blossom all that we now recognize as the tapestry of civilization. Grand cities, organized states, the elegant script of writing, the profound logic of mathematics, the beauty of art, and the majesty of architecture all arose, reaching heights of complexity and scale utterly beyond prior imagining. Yet, with these advancements came shadows, the strife of warfare, the burden of slavery, the scourge of widespread illness, and the stark divisions of social disparity, all manifesting on scales never before witnessed. The great agricultural revolution was far more than a mere alteration in the manner by which we sustained our bodies. It was, in its deepest essence, a profound transformation in the very fabric of our human thought. In ancient times, the hunter-gatherers dwelled deeply in the present moment, their lives guided by the gentle cadence of the seasons. They followed the migrating game and gathered nature's bounty as it ripened, moving ever with the earth's generous offerings. Their foresight, however, stretched only for a few moons, never for a full cycle of years. Yet, with the dawn of agriculture, the farmer's existence became entwined with the future, governed by the grand turning of the year. They knew that seeds sown in spring would yield their bounty in autumn, that grain must be stored to endure winter's chill, and precious seeds saved for the coming year's planting. Their planning stretched not merely to the current season but to the next, and the many more that lay beyond. This profound transformation of the mind, from the immediate rhythms of the seasons to the far-reaching cycles of the year, reshaped the very fabric of human awareness. Indeed, this awakening of consciousness turned our gaze towards the horizon of tomorrow, fostering a future-oriented perspective entirely new to our kind. From this shift, too, sprang the very notion of investment, a willingness to forego today's comforts for the promise of tomorrow's abundance. Such foresight, in turn, demanded the invention of intricate systems for tallying, for gauging, and for preserving knowledge through careful record-keeping. And so, it bestowed upon possessions a newfound significance. For the earth itself and the provisions it yielded became the very bedrock of survival. Most profoundly, it transformed our very perception of time's relentless flow. For the hunter-gatherers, time was perceived as a grand, repeating circle. The seasons ever returned, the wild creatures followed their ancient paths, and life itself danced to rhythms that had echoed since the dawn of memory. But for the farmer, time became a steady, onward march, a linear progression. One tilled the earth, sowed the seeds, gathered the bounty, refined their implements, and stretched their cultivated lands ever wider. With each passing generation, the foundations laid by those before were built upon anew. The days gone by were distinct from the present moment, and the days yet to come would hold even greater transformations. Herein lay the awakening of a historical awareness, the profound realization that change was not merely a possibility, but an inescapable truth, that the deeds of humankind possessed the power to reshape the very world, for both its betterment and its detriment. This very awareness continues to guide our thoughts even now. Yet, here lies a truth, seldom pondered. Modern humans, in our very beings, both in body and in mind, remain attuned to an ancient world of scarcity rather than our present realm of plenty. For countless millennia, our minds were shaped in landscapes where sustenance was never assured, where rich, energy-giving foods were precious finds, where the capacity to store fat offered a vital edge for survival, and where the strength of social bonds and the spirit of cooperation often marked the line between life and oblivion. A world, too, where dangers loomed close at hand. These perils were both swift and tangible. The first whispers of agriculture arose, but 10,000 years passed, and the grand tapestry of civilization began to unfurl a mere 5,000 years ago. The age of industry, a mere 2 centuries ago, began its swift ascent. For the slow, deliberate hand of evolution sculpts life across spans of tens, even hundreds of thousands of years. Thus we find ourselves yet unadapted to the very world our hands have fashioned. It is as if our ancient programming, forged in the Stone Age, still guides us, even as we navigate the complexities of a modern age. This narrative unveils a profound understanding of contemporary human actions, revealing the ancient roots of our deep desire for sweet and fatty foods. It clarifies why we gather in tribes, why we react swiftly to immediate perils, yet find ourselves challenged by the more distant, abstract threats that loom on the horizon. It also illuminates our remarkable capacity for invention when faced with adversity, contrasting with our natural inclination to resist alteration during periods of calm and constancy. Indeed, we are the direct lineage of those who endured the harsh epoch of the Younger Dryas, a time when they ingeniously devised the practice of agriculture to secure their survival. Our ancestors also weathered the profound chill of the last glacial maximum, crafting fitted garments and constructing dwellings from the bones of mammoths to withstand the bitter cold. And they persevered through the challenges of Tabor by skillfully utilizing the bounty of coastal regions and fostering the emergence of symbolic reasoning. Each profound climate upheaval did not merely alter the patterns of human conduct, it fundamentally resculpted the very fabric of human awareness and perception. From this extensive chronicle, a deep and resonant truth comes to light. We are, in our very essence, the embodiment of adaptation. This is not a physical transformation, for our corporeal forms have remained largely unaltered over the span of 100 millennia. Rather, it is an adaptation of behavior, a cultural evolution, encompassing our innate capacity to acquire knowledge, to invent anew, to pass wisdom down through the ages, and to profoundly reshape our methods of survival in the face of shifting environments. This, then, is our enduring legacy. This is the profound imprint that the Younger Dryas and every climatic upheaval preceding it etched into the very heart of human being. The great climatic cataclysm that brought an end to the nomadic way of life did not merely give rise to the practice of agriculture. Indeed, it was the very genesis of civilization as we know it. The imperative to manage and regulate the production of sustenance inevitably resulted in an abundance of resources. This newfound surplus, in turn, fostered the development of specialized roles and crafts. From this specialization emerged an intricate tapestry of social complexity, and this burgeoning social complexity paved the way for the establishment of cities, the formation of states, and all the subsequent developments that shaped our world. Remarkably, this entire grand progression commenced with a climatic upheaval that, by all accounts, ought to have brought about our utter demise. Yet, rather than extinguishing us, it profoundly reshaped our journey, guiding us from mere existence to the dawn of civilization, from simple adjustment to groundbreaking invention. From small, dispersed groups of hunter-gatherers, we evolved into a species destined to spread its presence across the entire globe, erect towering monuments that kiss the heavens, and forge advancements that, to those early tillers of the soil, grinding their grains beneath the ancient gaze of GBCE, would have surely appeared as pure enchantment. The profound query that now rests before us, whispered from the annals of those ancient teachings, is whether we yet hold within us that same remarkable capacity for adaptation. Can we, in this present age, meet the challenges of our changing climate with the very same spirit of ingenuity, the same pliancy and the same profound readiness to reshape our existence that our forebears so often displayed throughout the ages. Indeed, we possess boons beyond the wildest imaginings of those who came before us, wondrous technologies, the swift currents of global communication, and a deep scientific wisdom, granting us the foresight to perceive approaching storms rather than merely reacting to their sudden arrival. Yet, we also contend with trials they could never have conceived, the breathtaking swiftness of change, the vastness of its reach, and the intricate web of global systems that must, with utmost care, be reshaped without succumbing to ruin. The ancient chronicle of the Younger Dryas and the dawn of the agricultural revolution imparts to us this profound wisdom. Humanity possesses the resilience to endure. Even through the throes of climatic upheaval, we are capable of adaptation. We can conjure forth new ways. We are able to fundamentally restructure the very fabric of our existence. Yet, such survival often demands a heavy toll, and the world that emerges from the crucible of such profound change is never again quite the same as the realm that existed in earlier days. Our distant ancestors bore that very cost. Their stature diminished, their bodies grew more frail, and their labors became more arduous. They endured greater suffering. Yet, despite all this, they persevered, and from their trials, they forged a legacy that was destined to stand the test of time. The true inquiry for us, then, is not whether we possess the ability to adapt, for our long history clearly demonstrates that we can. Rather, the profound question remains, what shall become as we journey through this adaptation, pondering what new world shall emerge on the distant shore? And so, our 6th chapter begins, a time for reflection and gentle contemplation, unveiling the enduring legacy of our very survival. And so, we arrive at this quiet moment, the gentle close of a journey that has unfolded across 2 million years. We have gently walked through the vast, silent expanse of ice ages, each one lasting 100,000 years. We have quietly endured the deep chill of volcanic winters that drew a dark curtain across the sun. We have calmly watched the world slowly yield to an icy grip within a single decade. And then, we quietly observed the tender beginnings of agriculture, emerging from the quiet aftermath of climatic shifts and challenges. 4 profound trials, 4 significant moments when all could have quietly faded away. The first of these were the vast ice ages, those gentle, rhythmic cycles of cold and warmth which quietly shaped us, favoring larger minds and more slender frames, and which gently guided our distant ancestors to harness fire and to hunt together in harmony. These times slowly transformed the scattered bands of our earliest human ancestors into intrepid global voyagers. Then came the Toba eruption, a cataclysmic volcanic winter, so profoundly harsh that it may have winnowed our entire species down to a mere handful of 1,000 souls, steadfastly clinging to existence along the African shores. This created a genetic bottleneck, so remarkably narrow that every human soul dwelling upon the earth today can trace their lineage back to that singular, tenacious population. Then came the last glacial maximum, the very nadir of cold across 100 millennia, when colossal ice sheets, 2 miles in depth, embraced a third of our world. Yet, humanity did not falter into oblivion. Instead, they responded with breathtaking artistry, ingenious technologies, and intricate social tapestries that stretched across vast continents. And then, the Younger Dryas, a sudden, unforgiving plunge back into the icy grip of glacial conditions, arriving just as our world had begun its gentle thaw. This abrupt climatic upheaval, a veritable whiplash of weather, may well have compelled the birth of agriculture, and with it, charted the entire course of human civilization. 4 formidable trials, each sparking 4 profound metamorphoses. And, should one gaze intently upon these pivotal junctures, a recurring motif gently reveals itself, a moment of profound crisis, followed by ingenious innovation, then skillful adaptation, culminating in a magnificent cultural leap. This cycle unfolds time and again. The climate undergoes its profound shifts, vital resources dwindle and disappear, and the time-honored ways of life cease to serve their purpose. A moment of profound desperation often descends, We can discern its echoes within the archaeological record, those silent gaps in human habitation, those subtle alterations in tool technology, all whispering tales of populations enduring immense strain. And then, from the depths of necessity, something entirely new arises, not merely the act of survival, but a profound transformation, not simply the act of enduring, but a magnificent emergence. Fire, that ancient gift, does not merely offer warmth, it profoundly reshapes our entire social fabric, expands the very bounty of our sustenance, and subtly alters the very contours of our skulls. The genetic bottleneck did not merely diminish our numbers, rather, it forged the very crucible for swift cultural exchange, for the weaving of ever tighter social bonds, and for the wondrous dawning of symbolic thought. The relentless ice did not merely present a formidable challenge, it also inspired the creation of the finely tailored garments that would allow us to dwell comfortably in every corner of the earth, the ingenious food storage methods that demanded foresight, and the evocative art that hinted at a fully awakened, modern consciousness. The younger Dryas, however, did not merely present a threat to humanity. Instead, it ignited the agricultural revolution, a pivotal shift that would lay the groundwork for cities, for the art of writing, for the science of mathematics, indeed, for all that we now recognize as civilization itself. While the overarching pattern is clear, the true intrigue lies in comprehending its origins, for the very evidence of these ancient times resides within our own forms, etched into our DNA. Each soul walking the earth today traces its lineage back to those who, against all odds, found a way to endure. Not always the mightiest, nor the swiftest, but rather those most adept at adaptation, most pliable in spirit, who possessed the vision to gaze upon a world in flux and conceive of novel paths to existence. Through careful study, geneticists are able to chart the course of this enduring legacy. They uncover the subtle genetic shifts that empowered our ancestors to process unfamiliar sustenance, to withstand diverse climatic conditions, and to fend off the ailments that often arose from their close proximity to domesticated creatures. These profound adaptations are inscribed within the very fabric of our genome, forming a molecular chronicle of enduring survival. Yet, this genetic inheritance, remarkable as it is, constitutes but a fraction of the complete tale. It is the legacy of our behaviors, passed down through generations, that truly distinguishes us from all other beings. The very essence of modern human psychology was tempered and shaped within the fiery crucible of climatic upheaval. Our innate apprehension regarding the future, this is a profound inheritance from ancestors who mastered the art of preserving sustenance and meticulously planning for seasons they might otherwise not endure. Our inclination towards tribalism, our deep-seated tendency to forge close-knit communities, emerges from a time when populations were so sparse that the contribution of every single member held immense significance, where such collaboration was not merely a choice, but an absolute necessity for their very existence. Our extraordinary capacity to both impart and acquire wisdom, to faithfully transmit knowledge across the span of generations, did not blossom during eras of ease and abundance. Rather, it was honed in times when the loss of vital information could spell the very end of life, when the profound understanding of how to unearth water amidst a parched drought, or how to coax a flame to life in the midst of a downpour, marked the crucial divide between enduring survival and utter disappearance. Even our profound capacity for abstract contemplation, for the weaving of tales, for the creation of art, and for the practice of sacred rituals, arose from the immense pressures of those challenging epochs. In those moments when the world proved unforgiving, when the very act of survival hung precariously in the balance, humanity did not merely persist. No, in those times, we reached out and wove meaning into the fabric of our existence. In those ancient times, we adorned cavern walls with vibrant hues, sculpted delicate figures, and laid our departed to rest with solemn rites. Through these acts, we imbued even our sorrows with profound meaning. This, dear listener, was our gift of adaptability, a quality far surpassing any physical change our bodies ever underwent. The Neanderthals, in their time, possessed greater might than we, their forms more rugged, their bodies inherently better suited to the biting chill. Their sturdy, compact frames were masterful at holding warmth, keeping the cold at bay, and within their generous nasal passages, the icy breath of winter was gently warmed ere it ever touched their vital lungs. Yet, despite these strengths, the Neanderthals vanished from the earth, while we, somehow, endured. What, then, was the secret? It was the remarkable pliability of our ways, our behavioral adaptability, a profound capacity to reshape not our very flesh, but the patterns of our living. To find new paths, not through the slow, deliberate dance of genetic change, spanning countless ages, but through the swift, vibrant currents of cultural evolution, which could blossom within a single human life. As the world's climate began its shifting dance, the Neanderthals, steadfast in their traditions, continued to hunt in the familiar ways, within the very same territories. They were masters of their domain, perfectly attuned, like a finely crafted instrument, to one specific corner of the natural world. But when the winds of climate change swept across the land, Homo sapiens, in their wisdom, transformed every facet of their existence. Our implements, our quarry, our very customs and beliefs, our societal bonds, and even the deepest currents of our understanding of the world around us. For we were true generalists, and in a world where the climate proved fickle and unpredictable, this ability to adapt broadly became the paramount strategy for survival. Yet, there is a truth even more profound to grasp. We were not generalists in isolation. No, the true master key, unlocking all other possibilities, was the gentle art of social cooperation. The shifting climate did not merely sharpen our minds, it also forged us into beings of greater intellect. Instead, it wove us closer together, fostering a deeper reliance upon one another, and nurturing a profound commitment to the well-being of our collective. One may observe this truth within the ancient archaeological findings. The intricate burial sites, for instance, reveal a profound tenderness shown towards the aged and those with infirmities. Consider, too, the vast trade routes spanning great distances, which necessitated a deep trust among unfamiliar peoples. And observe the consistent forms of tools, hinting at shared instruction and knowledge acquisition, rather than mere solitary invention. For a human being dwelling alone in the harsh ice age was, quite simply, a human doomed. True survival depended utterly upon the collective, and that collective, in turn, demanded collaboration, clear discourse, and the capacity to impart wisdom and provisions. The most flourishing communities were not those blessed with the most brilliant minds alone. Instead, they were the societies that possessed the finest methods for passing understanding from one generation to the next. Herein lies our genuine evolutionary strength. Not merely individual intellect, but rather a shared, collective wisdom. Not simply the act of invention, but the profound capacity to instruct our young in the ways of novel creation for our descendants. It is through ingenuity and the careful handing down of understanding that humankind becomes singularly formidable as a species, remarkably flexible, and exceptionally adept at enduring swift shifts in their surroundings. Consider a polar bear, which adjusts to the harsh Arctic climes through its very genetic makeup. This process unfolds over countless millennia, requiring tens of thousands of years. Yet, a human being, facing the same Arctic challenges, adapts not through biology, but through the rich tapestry of culture. We acquire the wisdom to fashion garments, to construct protective dwellings, and to pursue seals for sustenance. Such profound adaptation can be achieved within the span of a single generation. This perspective offers the clearest lens through which to understand our present era, for we find ourselves once more navigating a time of swift climatic shifts, and the echoes of ancient patterns resonate deeply with our modern circumstances. Warmth ascending, precipitation patterns altering, fierce weather occurrences, the delicate balance of ecosystems disturbed, vital resources becoming scarce, and populations forced to relocate. Our forebears confronted each of these formidable challenges, and they endured. Yet, before we draw too great a solace from that historical truth, we must pause to recognize the profound distinctions. The pace of change now is unlike anything before, devastatingly swifter. The climatic shifts of antiquity typically unfurled across vast stretches of time, over thousands of years, or, at their most rapid, across mere centuries. The Younger Dryas, that swift and profound chill we once spoke of, descended upon the world in but a single decade. Its sudden arrival was deemed astonishingly rapid when measured against the vast tapestry of geological time. Yet, the shifts of our present climate unfold across mere decades, sometimes even years. In ages past, the great ice epochs granted our forebears the luxury of time to journey, to adjust, to forge novel tools, and to bequeath their wisdom to those who followed. Communities could then drift slowly, tracing the path of sustenance, ensuring the unbroken thread of their traditions remained intact. Such a gentle unfolding is a privilege no longer afforded to us. The swift current of contemporary transformation shrinks the window for adjustment to a measure humanity has never before encountered. And yet, amidst this challenge, beacons of hope still shine. For we, as a species, have weathered storms far more severe, armed with but a fraction of our current ingenuity. Recall the Toba bottleneck, a time when humankind was winnowed down to a mere handful of thousands, possessing only the simplest stone implements and the warmth of fire. Still, we endured. We rose again. We flourished. And now, our numbers swell to 7 billion souls. We possess the bounty of agriculture, the healing touch of medicine, vast webs of global communication, and the gathered wisdom passed down through countless generations. We hold the power to comprehend the unfolding events, to envision paths yet to come, and to weave together collective actions spanning entire continents. Our ancient kin navigated the tumult of climatic upheaval through their remarkable capacity for adjustment and inventive spirit. These very same strengths now reside within us, magnified by orders of magnitude beyond their wildest dreams. The inherent human gift for flexible conduct, for changing our ways, remains undiminished. Indeed, it could be said that modern humanity exhibits an even greater capacity for adaptation than those who came before us. We have made our homes in every corner of this earth, from the parched deserts to the frozen tundras, from the ocean's edge to the loftiest mountain peaks. Time and again, we have demonstrated our remarkable ability to conform to novel circumstances. Yet, amidst this strength, whispers of caution must also be heeded, for they are grave indeed. The survival of our ancestors often demanded a fearsome price, the collapse of communities, the gnawing pangs of hunger, and suffering on a scale almost beyond our comprehension. The genetic narrowing that ensued meant that innumerable family lines simply faded into oblivion. Whole peoples and their cherished ways of living vanished forever. Though the embrace of agriculture bolstered our species' survival, it paradoxically rendered individual lives more arduous, shorter, and filled with greater hardship. The silent testimony of ancient bones whispers tales of malnutrition, persistent ailments, and the weary strain upon their frames from ceaseless toil. Survival was indeed achieved, yet one must ponder the profound cost. And now, let us gently turn our thoughts to another truth, one that humbles us deeply. Indeed, the hand of fortune played its part. The colossal Toba eruption, for instance, might have unfolded with even greater ferocity. The ensuing volcanic winter, a shroud of ash and cold, could have lingered for a far greater span. The perilous population bottleneck, that narrow passage of survival, might have constricted even further, leaving but a few hundred souls, a mere handful of individuals, rather than the precious few thousands who endured. And in such a dire scenario, we might have found ourselves bereft of the essential genetic diversity needed to mend and flourish once more. The vast expanse of the last glacial maximum, too, held the power to obliterate the precious refugia, those havens where our ancestors sought solace. And the sudden chill of the Younger Dryas could have unleashed a devastating cascade of ecosystem collapse, rendering the very notion of agriculture utterly impossible. Yet, we endured. We survived partly through our remarkable capacity for adaptation, yes, and partly through the spark of innovation, and partly through our deep-seated cooperation and the gentle passing of knowledge through generations. But let us not forget, a significant portion of our survival was also owed to sheer, unpredictable chance. It was a matter of chance, born from the sheer unpredictability of which communities found themselves positioned favorably when a great calamity descended. Such a notion is not a comforting reflection. We often wish to imagine that humanity's endurance was preordained, that our keen intellect and remarkable flexibility assured our triumph. Yet, the ancient stone records reveal a multitude of clever, adaptable creatures that, nonetheless, vanished. Thus, what then truly sets humankind apart, making us uniquely capable of enduring through time? Perhaps it is not a singular attribute. Instead, it may be the harmonious blend. Our remarkable adaptability in behavior, our profound aptitude for collaboration, our skill in conveying wisdom through the passing of generations, our natural ease with the crafting of tools, our innate drive to forge significance and direction, even amidst the shadows of adversity, and perhaps, just perhaps, our very gentle readiness to transform into something new, distinct from our former selves. Each passing climatic upheaval reshaped our very being. The great ice epochs spread us across the globe. The Toba eruption, in its turn, rendered us beings of cultural depth and ingenuity. The final great glacial expanse forged us into skilled artisans and clever engineers. Then, the younger Dryas period gently guided us to become tillers of the soil. Our survival was not found in remaining unchanging. Instead, we endured by embracing transformation, by a readiness to release ancient customs, former identities, and long-held assurances. Those who roamed and gathered, having weathered the younger Dryas, eventually settled as farmers. This path was not truly their own choosing. Rather, the very climate compelled this momentous decision. Yet, they embraced it. They underwent a profound metamorphosis. What new forms shall we take? Let us place this all within its grand historical context. From the vast expanse of deep time, we observe 2 million years. For this immense duration, the genus Homo has journeyed through the shifting tides of climatic uncertainty. 2 million years, marked by the ebb and flow of ice ages and warming spells, by parched lands and surging waters, by the chill of volcanic winters and the sudden embrace of thaws. Through the overwhelming span of that era, fully 99%, our ancestors lived as hunter-gatherers, small bands, ever-moving, adaptable, existing in harmony with ecosystems that were perpetually in flux. The practice of agriculture emerged but 10,000 years ago. Great cities arose 6 millennia past, and our industrial age, a mere 2 centuries old. We are a lineage forged by 2 million years of ceaseless change, now striving to uphold a civilization constructed upon the fragile premise of unwavering constancy. Therein lies the profound tension. Therein resides the formidable challenge. Yet, it is also our greatest opportunity, for it is within instability that our very essence was forged. Indeed, transformation has always been the very essence of our dwelling place. Truly, we are the direct lineage of those ancient souls who mastered the art of enduring great upheaval. Each one of us, living in this present moment, can trace our ancestral path through those 4 monumental trials, and indeed, through innumerable lesser ones. Consider this. Every single forebear in your lineage, stretching back across 2 million years, persevered long enough to bring forth new life. They journeyed through the vast expanse of ice ages, the parched grip of droughts, the chilling veil of volcanic winters, and all the myriad perils that shadowed their daily existence in a world untamed. A world devoid of healing balms, cultivated fields, or sturdy roofs. Within your very being, you carry their profound resilience, their remarkable adaptability woven into the fabric of your mind, and their ancient strategies for survival etched deep within the fundamental architecture of your spirit. This truth is indeed worthy of a quiet pause, worthy of being truly felt within your heart. Imagine, if you will, countless ancestors. Envision the countless instances when the thread of existence seemed poised to unravel. Recall the countless occasions when a solitary soul, chilled by the wind, gnawed by hunger, or gripped by fear, nonetheless discovered a path to press onward. They held fast, they endured, and it is precisely because of their unwavering spirit that you, in this moment, draw breath. Within this realization lies a profound truth, a sentiment that is both deeply humbling and wonderfully empowering, all at once. Our journey does not trace back through a lineage of those who surrendered to despair. Rather, we descend from a noble line of individuals who steadfastly endured. And so, we gently ponder, what new chapters await us? The truthful reply, whispered softly, is that we cannot truly know. Yet, we are aware that the grand tapestry of climate challenges still lies before us. Some of these we can, with quiet contemplation, foresee: the slow rise of the oceans, the gentle shifting of fertile lands, the intensified dance of extreme weather patterns. Still, others will arrive as unexpected guests, much as the younger Dryas once startled our ancient forebears with its swift and chilling return to an age of ice. The path ahead remains veiled in uncertainty. This has ever been the way of time, stretching back through all ages. Yet, let us remember that uncertainty is not akin to despair. Our ancestors, with naught but simple stone tools and imagine the warmth of fire, coupled with the spirit of cooperation and ingenious thought, and a deep willingness to adapt, allowing for the birth of something entirely new. As we gaze upon an unknown tomorrow, we carry with us not only these ancient strengths, but also 10 millennia of gathered wisdom, alongside the marvel of worldwide communication and the profound gift of drawing insights from the distant past, applying those timeless teachings to our current era. The true inquiry is not whether we possess the inherent ability to adjust. Indeed we do. This capacity is woven into the very fabric of our being, both in our biological makeup and our spirit. The real question, then, becomes whether we will choose to employ this profound ability, whether we will embrace the spirit of cooperation as our forebears once did, whether we will spark new ideas, and whether we will truly be open to profound transformation. The grand tapestry of history gently whispers that this is indeed our way. A time of challenge, followed by ingenious solutions, leading to profound adjustment, and ultimately, a great stride forward for civilization. Yet, this same ancient rhythm also hints that the journey will not be without its trials, nor will it come without a price. Allow your thoughts to gently rest upon this truth, embracing its intricate nature, feeling both its profound gravity and its boundless promise. Beyond your window, no matter where you may be, the very same stars that graced the nights of our ancient forebears still softly gleam. The identical moon, which once illuminated their nocturnal assemblies, now casts its gentle glow upon your own. Take a moment to envision them. Those early people from a time long past. Picture a small gathering, huddled close around a flickering fire, during the profound chill of the last great ice age. Vast sheets of ice gleaming under the pale sky extended endlessly towards every distant horizon. Perhaps they are sharing tales, or quietly strategizing for the next day's hunt, instructing their young ones in the art of shaping stone tools, deciphering the subtle signs of animal tracks, and mastering the very essence of survival. Within their hearts, there is no certainty that their lineage will endure. They remain unaware that their future generations will one day claim dominion over the whole Earth, constructing magnificent cities, soaring through the cosmos in spacecraft, and weaving intricate webs of worldwide communication. Their immediate awareness is simply the biting chill and the gnawing pangs of hunger. Indeed, the world often proved a harsh mistress. However, they were bound by the unbreakable ties of kinship and community. The flickering flame, a gift from the heavens, was theirs to command. Their minds held the ancestral wisdom, a precious legacy bestowed by their forebears, who in turn received it from those who came before, an unbroken chain reaching into the mists of antiquity. Moreover, an enduring spark of hope illuminated their path, not a fragile, unthinking optimism that whispered of an easy future. Instead, it was a steadfast resolve, a quiet promise that a way would always be found, for so it had ever been, across the countless ages. Consider, for a moment, the myriad stars that grace the night sky. the identical cosmic jewels that shimmered above their long-forgotten encampments. Indeed, you are the culmination of their journey, their very hope made manifest in the present. The struggles you navigate today are but echoes of the far greater hardships that tested their resolve. You carry within you the lineage of those who endured. The very essence of adaptation is your birthright, not merely a poetic turn of phrase, nor a fleeting source of encouragement. It is a profound biological certainty, an undeniable evolutionary truth, a tangible historical reality. This innate capacity to persevere, to adjust, to chart a course through the unknown, is intricately woven into the very tapestry of your being, defining what it means to be human. Allow this profound truth to bring you peace. Let it sink deep into your very being, the legacy of 2 million years of unwavering survival. And you, dear one, are the most recent chapter in this magnificent saga. Should this journey through the annals of deep time have unveiled something precious, if these tales of ancient fortitude have stirred your spirit or broadened your understanding, perhaps you might wish to delve further into these timeless narratives. Innumerable other chronicles await discovery within the profound depths of the past. The enigmatic unfolding of human evolution, the echoes of civilizations long vanished, the winding, wondrous odyssey that has led us to this very instant. But for this moment, simply surrender to repose. Allow your thoughts to gently retrace the ancient epochs we have journeyed through together. The stark contrasts of ice and fire, the relentless spirit of invention and profound metamorphosis, the boundless ingenuity of humanity confronting insurmountable obstacles. Our forebears not only endured but flourished, evolving into the very beings we are today. And it is our sacred task to carry their spirit onward into the unfolding future. The very same celestial lights, the identical lunar orb, and within us, the unchanging human capacity for hope, even amidst the mists of uncertainty, rest deeply now. You are a vital link in an unbroken lineage, stretching back 2 million years, a chain of resilient souls who gazed upon a world in flux and always, always discovered a path forward. This, then, is your profound inheritance. This, indeed, is your unfolding narrative, and know that its final chapter is yet to be written.